It's going to be hard to top the games we've already had to open up day 2 here. But if anything could, maybe G2 Oxygen would be the treat to do it. Let's start this one off then. G2, right? Tell me a little bit about this squad, Zesht.
Oof, I mean, telling you a little bit about it would probably wrong. Let's say it like this. Quick roster revamp. You know, hardly having an IGL previous to that. Stage 3, they get obviously the creme de la creme in form of Coldamenta, who's somewhat of a strict individual. And then also on top of that, they add the young gun of Kellogg's, because Mixwell, from swapping away from that jet, is now going more in a supportive role, which with the age and the experience this man has, seems to fit perfectly. Kellogg's is our spotlight player, but it doesn't mean Mixwell can't perform.
Yeah, we're keeping this lightning fast because we want to fill you up with as much information as we can. We're going to throw this over to a little team profile. Let's meet the G2 boys.
Hello, so my name is Žygimantas Chmieliauskas. My nickname is Nuki. I am playing for G2. My role for the team is I'm like the guy that fills and I'm the duelist. Biggest success is probably the last qualifier run, which we managed to upset Fnatic and upset other teams.
Taken down, but Kellogg's answers back. Mystic trying to hold on and control. We'll get another. Now dancing around the back of the side, but Nukia is too quick. That is it.
It showed that we have a lot of team chemistry. That's the best thing that we have in this team. We can do both aggressive, slow, fast. We can literally wait until 10 seconds in the round and execute. So we have everything in the team. The key factor to our victory is probably just having a good mood and good team chemistry that day. So that's like the key factor for our lineup. We're the underdogs, and I feel that we have really good players that are not treated as well from the community. So it would be nice to change how people think about us just by winning the EMEA and then qualifying to Berlin.
Yeah, Mixwell out here looking like the architect of this team, right? Like the one little consistency, as you say, they're revamping everything else around him. And now this G2 squad's looking quite exciting. Lothar, can I get your thoughts on the team?
I really like what they did with the entire team because it required a total revamp. You know, they had to create something new out of the way they played the game, because the old G2 was one of the best in Europe, but they didn't advance with the way the game progressed. And it was a very special moment for Mixwell to realize, and I like him for that he needs to swap up. He cannot be the Jet, because the Jet actually now plays differently in a meta game. He would need to be that aggressor to open up space on the side and attack, and he wasn't that player. He's more of a supportive player. To realize that, to be that self-critical player that wants to play for the team is a very important aspect of a team player in general, right? So I really love that Mixwell realized that, and they picked up Kellogg's. Kellogg's was something that was very much needed for the team to basically have a space in the current tier 1 environment. So yeah, that's one of the steps that was needed, but also the IGLing. I think Sesh has something about them to say, right?
Yeah, exactly, because Coldamenta is seen as somewhat of a strict individual. At the same time, when they were player scouting, because they needed a new 5th one to fill in, obviously Nuki, no-brainer, don't even need to talk about that. But with Kellogg's, they were trialing so many individuals. There were a lot of individuals that could have made it. Musashi is one that probably could have also made it, but didn't in the end. So why did they went for Kellogg's? Well, one of the reasons is that he's a young, humble guy that is proactively thinking. They want proactive thinkers in the team so they don't have to micromanage every single step. And keloqz might just be sometimes a little off the leash, but he's also very willing to learn. And we might see today that he has the right mix of aggressiveness and well thought through plays.
Well, you know, we know now all about the G2 boys. We need to start to look at who they're going up against. Let's meet Oxygen, shall we?
Ben Göktuğ Canciğer. Oyun için ikimiz isto. Oxygen Esports takımı için Sentinel rolünü oynuyorum. En büyük başarımız geçen EMEA turnuvasında, Avrupa turnuvasında 3.lük, 4.lük elde edebilmekte. Aynı başarıyı tekrarlayıp bu sefer Berlin spotunu almak istiyoruz.
Oo, gitmedi bu oradan onun sürü. Bir plant fake'i var. Çok iyi line-up. 3 girmiş. Harika bir oyun Zestu.
Başarımızın anahtarı esneklik. Ben buna yoruyorum. Hani böyle rakibi iyi anlayıp, iyi analiz edip maç içerisinde onlara göre iyi oynayabildiğimizi düşünüyorum.
The key to their success is flexibility. Well, can you flex a little bit of knowledge on us here when we look at Oxygen? Who are we going to be looking out for, and what's notable about this team, Zesh?
I think Unity is one of the most interesting individuals here. The man is young, the man has been freshly picked up, 17-year-old, and I think one of the crucial parts about this guy is that he's once more not this necessarily super shining star, but instead an excellent support player. He knows how to play those support agents and can really be a crucial role in this team.
Yeah, more on Unity, because I was paying a lot of attention to him on the VOD from the yesterday's game. He picked up a Viper on Ascent. I wanted to point out the way that he... I know.
No, I've been waiting for this all day, Lothar. Come on, give it to me.
Yeah, actually on Ascent, he played so well to support his entire team. He had insane amount of assists as well on the pacing and intervals, on using the wall and the smoke to control the defense, put so much pressure on his opponents. I don't think that the Giants were ever seeing this coming. So, for G2, this is a very big learning moment, right? And since Oxygen actually plays Ascent so often, in the past, if I'm not mistaken, 20 maps, they played Ascent 8 times, which is a massive amount, right? So G2 most likely will be like, yeah, this is the one map we don't really want to play, even though G2's one of the strongest maps is Ascent. So there's a little bit of mind games coming right now, which I'm also very interested in. I would love to see Ascent, but it will probably not because of that.
Yeah, right. I mean, it's always kind of scary, right? Like, because on one hand, you know, do you want to lean into your comfort pick? Do you want to try and play to your team's strength? Especially because, like, I think in the eyes of the folks watching at home, G2 probably are the favorites here, right? So it's like, do you want to give that respect to Oxygen? What's going to happen there? Lothar, I would love to, seeing as you're kind of my map man, I always come for you when we look at the map pools. In terms of the playstyles, you know, I feel like we're quite at home with what to expect from these teams. What maps do you think we could see if Ascent was going to get skipped out?
Well, the thing is, it seems like the meta game in EU in general, but also in the entire EMEA, is like everyone plays Icebox.
Yeah.
It's also very interesting because not many players liked Icebox in the beginning, right? But there's a lot of meta game choices and evolutions of how the teams approach the game. We have seen that with different approach from Na'Vi. We have seen with different approach from Ascent, Liquid as well. Even though the compositions might not be the same. So I would say G2 played on every single map so far in the past month, but at the same time, sorry, not the past month, in the previous months.
Right, yeah.
But they didn't play for a month now, right? So I would expect them to have something up their sleeve when it comes to the metagame choices, right? And to have something that we didn't see coming. So in general, when it comes to map pools, I would say G2 has a slight advantage over Oxygen, but at the same time, I'm not an expert on the Turkish scene. From what I have seen from Oxygen, they typically go for like 3 maps out of 6, which is a bit of a same problem like we had with Na'Vi, an example.
Yeah, I mean, you know, we got the graphic ready. It's all ready to go, so we can figure this out, Lothar. We can get to grips with our map pool here. Let's see, where are we going to end up on this one? There we go. It's like he could see it coming. The icebox pick for G2.
I am upset because there's no ascent here. I really wanted that ascent pick, you know, but that was my selfish like.
But that is the mind game essence of it that you're talking about, right? It's like even if G2 kind of let it slip on through, it's like, do they want to chance it on the side of Oxygen, knowing it's a strong map for their counterparts, right, Serge?
That's the thing. It is very interesting to see due to the fact that, you know, for example, Kellogg's feels super comfortable on that map. It seems to be one of his favorite maps, Mixwell recently said. So do you want to have your shining star and not play the map for the sake of Oxygen having a quite good time on it? Seemingly G2 did that. And that means that they obviously have a slight victim on their side, but at the same time, they take the favorite away from Oxygen. And that's damn crucial because they just love that little map.
Yeah, and also they open up with the Icebox, right, pick. And Icebox, when I was watching the tapes from G2, how they approach the game, it seems to be very focused on Kellogg's opening up space on defense, which is not something you typically see. Kellogg's is one of the most aggressive Jets I have seen in EU when it comes to defensive pushes, which is something that Oxygen can easily counter, right? The question is Oxygen prepared for that? Did they do their homework, right? Do they have the information about that? And also, when it comes to Oxygen playing on Icebox, they do typically, let's say, play off first tempo, so they do plant in the first 10-15 seconds mostly on A, but if they fail with that, there's a big gap typically in the executes. So that's also a huge pattern that G2 can recognize in how they play.
Yeah, I really like that kind of look in, though, at like how the styles are going to marry up. Because one thing I noticed, you know, when I was watching some of these Turkish VODs and I was taking a look at how these teams play, is it does seem like on average it is about being at like that up tempo, you know, going into sight as fast as you can on first contact, looking for bomb plants. And well, the thing that's kind of interesting there is it feels like if this was like a Na'Vi, if this was a team that takes it a little bit slower, that might marry up against G2 kind of nicer, right? I think when you've got this aggression, the thing that's scary is that G2 could just be sniping information away from you, right? At the very, very least, even if they're not getting that opening fight, if they're getting info that, you know, like B lane's clear to open up, they can rotate heavy over towards A on the back of it, there's going to be opportunities for G2 to maybe take advantage of the style we're going to get out of Oxygen.
The thing is, Oxygen though recently has already adapted in the way we saw, for example, yesterday, Fireflux adapt in a more slower, information-based approach. And this is also the interesting thing, Lothar, because you're going to love this. There is the classic best meta composition, hypothetically, on Icebox that Oxygen would play, right? The same basically Na'Vi did. And that's going to make it very interesting to see, because there's a lot of information play coming out of them here on the Sentinel basis from Killjoy, for example.
You know, it's so funny because I feel like we're rewinding the tape, you know, on the VHS and like repeating what we already said, because we said the same about Na'Vi, we said the same about Liquid, we said the same about Ascent. There's like a lineup with Reyna and Jet and a Killjoy and a Jet, and there's always the stark contrast between the two teams on Icebox.
Yeah, so, you know, when we start to think about agents, you know, what we might see here, do you have any inklings as to what we're going to get leaned into? Maybe not even just Icebox, maybe across the series. Do you think we've got room for any surprises? Because as mentioned, G2 have had that, you know, like month or so off to potentially get tricky with their agent pools.
Breach seems to be somewhat interesting. Could be a thing that the Turkish scene somehow enjoys, right? We also, for example, had it on Split from time to time, which is obviously home ground for Breach, but still European teams don't necessarily tend to do that all the time, but Turkey likes it more and more.
I feel like in Turkey there's a lot of Breach mains, which is not something that we see in other regions. Braska is a very good example, right? But for Oxygen, I feel like they actually tend to do more towards the control-y and well-rounded compositions than the one that are the one-dimensional. Because when you play Breach, it's very one-dimensional, right? He literally shows the direction.
Yeah.
So, I wouldn't expect it, but at the same time, this is a big unknown for me. Like, honestly, this match, in almost every single match, I have like a team in my side that'll be like, they have a slight advantage.
Right.
Here, in this match, I honestly don't know, because I don't have enough data for G2 to make a like an educated guess, and Oxygen is one of those teams that can surprise anyone.
Yeah, and you know, that kind of even leans into what we heard in like that little team profile bit, right? They say that like they think that their flexibility, their ability to kind of mold is like one of their biggest strengths. And I think that is like a very, very good strength to have, because you know, you kind of see these teams where they get known for a certain play style, and it almost feels like, yeah, you make it your own, and it's very, very cool to have this identity, but it makes it that much easier to use against you, right? And so, you know, if Oxygen are going to come into this really not afraid to like push the limits of what their team can do, maybe that's how they catch G2 off guard, right, Zesht?
True. And one thing I also find very interesting, to be honest, is Oxygen obviously being the only team from Turkey that wants more plays in the EMEA playoffs. That's one thing, right? But on the other hand, they hardly did any changes of players. Unity, the only one who has been added, right? And other than that, they really could work on their core. And I think this is a good thing. If you find an entire book of lessons from EMEA Challenger Playoffs 2, where you had the opportunity to realize, okay, we can fix this, we can fix that, other regions approach it, this and that, and we had it in an official competitive environment. And now we're going to see what they have learned over here in this best of 3.
I tell you what, I got some good news. Agent Select's ready. We can actually get our answers as to what's going to come out in this series or in this map. Icebox,
Yeah, we're not falling for that.
Yeah, they're hovering like, you know, they're hovering KOs. There's a lot of trolling going on, but I imagine we're going to get something pretty standard here.
Well, for G2, it looks very standard. Nucky on the Reyna is a pick that I personally, you know, I dislike on Ascent, I dislike on Liquid, I dislike on G2, but that's my personal opinion. I just don't like Reyna in competitive high level.
And I have to disagree, because I think Nuki is one of the 10 players in this world that is, I will always say, do it. You know, he's like, please do it. Because I think he is so consistent with fragging and opening up space with this agent, because I'm with you. There should be 99 players who shouldn't play this agent. But with him, I think he is the one that always performs with that.
Nuki is just insanely consistent. I don't know how he does it. For me, Nuki and Zipban are those two guys that are consistently showing up every single game. Even when they are on the receiving end of the stick, they're still showing up with good results. So it's very valuable to have a player like that. But the thing is, on Icebox, something that we said like multiple times in the past 2 days, Killjoy brings so much value. It's absolutely mental. Like the attacker's side is opened up entirely by the lockdown. So it is the defense, because now suddenly you have a lot more power for retakes, because the Killjoy lockdown is so good on B side. And on A, it's like insanely valuable, because Icebox, when it comes to design, is squished like a sandwich, you know? So I don't know if anyone understood that, but
No, I feel you. Yeah.
So on the both sides on Icebox, when the sides are on, that lockdown has way bigger effect of pushing away people, so, which is very important, because it also affects the spots from the Viper on B.
Yeah. Narrow, right? I guess would be like what we're looking for, and a lot of area of effect there on the Killjoy. Well, I'm going to kill our Joy here as we get ready to throw this one into game. We've got Gio and John Allen standing by.
Thank you very much. Of course, we're going to be getting right back into Icebox. I thought we'd escaped, Gio. I thought we'd done enough rounds on this one today, but we're going to be getting right into more of it. It's Icebox yet again, but it's a new set of matchups, G2 and Oxygen.
Yeah, I mean, look, we went, 17-15. The second stream went even further into overtime on this very same map. So I'm not saying it's going to happen here, but I mean, you never know. It could happen here. You know, I actually find it really interesting what they say on the desk, that, you know, it's a lot harder, I think, in this game to sit and look at it and say definitively there is one team that we think has won the map veto necessarily. I'm going to be really interested when we eventually get over onto Breeze, just because of particularly how Oxygen played that yesterday against Giants. But obviously, starting here on Icebox, this is the map that G2 picked for themselves. The last time they played it was actually against Ascend, where they lost it. So I'm very interested to see how this is going to go for them.
It was Oxygen, though, who chose to start on the attacking side, and if we cast our mind back to one of the many overtimes in the last one, do you remember that defense tends to be a little bit stronger there, although it has gone both ways on both occasions. Starting off well, though, Toronto for Oxygen. They'll be able to find Niuki. Kellogg's able to answer. Toronto falls as well as Mitez. The Ghost one taps are strong. Looks for a third, but can't quite find the big four. And now it's 2 players left alive for Oxygen.
And this all pretty much happened in spawn. We haven't got very deep into the map for this, particularly. Yeah, Oxygen is gonna... Actually, they have pretty much the entirety of the A site free to themselves. They don't know that, necessarily. They do have a recon dart available, so they could figure it out.
Potentially. Maybe if they drop that one.
They have the time and the space to plant. They're just trying to like figure out if there's anyone nearby, because of course if they lose just one of these players, then that puts it in a 1 versus 3 and significantly weakens their chances.
Oh, that is a really terrible place for the spike to get dropped. Needs to go for the challenge, and Mixwell wins 2 on the trot. And it's a good start for G2. 3 players stay standing. And already 2 of those, what was it, pizza slices, I think they said on Twitter.
Oh, that's been decided now.
It's been officially a pizza slice there for Mixwell. Going to be able to rack up 2 of them. Not quite a healthy meal, but certainly an entree. Well, not an entree, that's the main course, isn't it? I always get confused about that. And honestly, why can't they just figure out what cuisine is happening? But either way, Mixwell, 2 pizza slices. Kellogg's up to 4.
Good start for G2 though, and we've seen what they were talking about Kellogg's really being needed on this roster. So to be this young gunner, getting that opening kill as well, adding to that, but it didn't take long for him to be brought down.
Spike down.
I didn't think that the shock dart had landed in the right place. I thought it was supposed to go inside the tunnel. But it still managed to get a kill on the player at the top. Unity with the Vandal tries to sneak on down, but as fancy as the feat might be, Unity is going to have to sideline for that one. 2-0 now for G2, and they're starting off well on their defense.
Much faster around that time. And actually, we got to have a little bit of a see of something that I expected from Nuki in the first round, but he got shut down too early, and that is Nuki is really good at close-range combat. You see Nuki with, I mean, in that round it was a Spectre, but you see him with a Classic, you see him with a Frenzy, and he's probably going to pop off on it. He's actually very good at it. So, didn't get the opportunity to show that off in round number 1, but did in round number 2, and G2 sitting here with the advantage.
Though the weapon's certainly in the favor of Oxygen, as it almost always goes here. Trying to drop the Owl drone, play up close. If Mixwell can get 1 or even 2, then he's done his job. Will turn the corner, spotted out, needs to go for the challenges, and 1 found, 8 bullets left, and no more kills left in the magazine. But Kellogg's has the knives, will try and thread them through, and caught out in the open, not going to have the best of times, but either way, they've managed to find 2 kills already. The wall is there to slow things down, but broken almost immediately. Unity around the side, wants to play point guard here, try and break the team apart. G2 fading away, not giving that opportunity over to Unity. And a flank potentially on the cards. The wall towards mid and the spike getting planted. That's going to trigger the rotate to come through from Nuki. As they trade around the side, Unity finds Colder Mentor, and the flank needs to come in, and it needs to come in now. Avova should know that there's 2 players locked towards the back here. Doesn't know about the third, though. Unity playing it safe. Avova wins the trade against Toronto. And another spray underneath the container for Nuki finds Unity. Now, last player standing for Oxygen. A good start to the round, but needs to do a lot more work here. Can't get it done, and Nuki gets the final.
Another nice round for G2. Looking very clean so far, even though Oxygen had that weapons advantage that you mentioned at the start. Maybe it's just going to take them a little bit of time to kick things in. Again, this was G2's map pick, so you would naturally expect them to do better on it. It's going to be OXG who chose Breeze.
Toxin down.
A lot of patience. I think that's one thing that's really nice about this squad as well, is, you know, there's no like mindless aggression. It's all very calculated.
Thought out in advance. They've been doing brainworks. And it seems to be a bit of a struggle right now for Oxygen to make it to the brain. Suffocating at the start of this half, but hopefully they'll be able to gasp. Find some space. Maybe not in this round. Maybe a little bit of damage done, but what more can you find? After saving 2 rifles as well from the enemy team, It's going to be really, really good economically for G2. Kellogg's just claps Zistu back to spawn. Toronto falls as well. They're trying to move forwards, but what can they do here? It's just too tough here. I'd say that. I'll take that one back at least. Mixwell does fall, but the rest of the team answer pretty strong here. Unity. Oh, he sees the dismiss, forced away. Tries to get away with a gun, but Kellogg sees to it that that's going back to the bank. And 4 rounds for G2.
I mean, I'm not going to give Oxygen too much of a hard time over that round purely because it was basically an eco. You had a Marshall thrown in there, but other than that, they didn't really have anything particularly powerful on their side. But one thing that I think is worth noting is that when G2 did play this map against Ascend and lost it, a big problem they faced was it was Kellogg's being really subdued by Ascend. They just shut him down at every moment, and it really stopped G2 from being able to power forward. That is not happening here. Kellogg's has had so much room to work. We've only had a few rounds down.
Okay.
He's already been doing great. Mixwell too, I guess.
Mixwell pogging off over on the A site. Viper shuts the door. With Kellogg's backup as well on this jet, it's going to be almost impossible to turn this corner. Although they make the first breach, actually able to get away with the second as well. And they've gained some ground, but the cost of 2, you have to wonder, is it worth it now for Oxygen to keep going here? Are they going to try and move in, or is it going to be head against brick wall? And we all know how that matchup plays.
Well, Toronto has got the operator, and he's really someone who can pop off on it, but Kellogg's is really steaming ahead in that category right now. His crosshair is in really the perfect place, but Toronto runs away before.
I loved that kill so much. You have no idea. He saw the player dropping and he was like, I'm just going to put it where his head's going to be, and just clicks the button as soon as it drops into place. But Kellogg's trading off yet again. Only Mixwell to go down, and Kellogg's racks up 3. It looks so easy for him. I don't know what's going on, but he's just absolutely dominating. I'm pretty sure this guy is up to the second knives of the half.
Yeah, there's really just no pressure on him that much. And I mean, Toronto was trying, but then got caught out because you could literally see the barrel of the weapon. And actually, I felt kind of sorry for Unity at the end there, because you know that if you want to pick up that operator, you need to go and cross at least 2 lines of sight. He didn't even make it past the first one before Kellogg's had him in the dirt as well. So he's definitely causing a huge problem here for OXG so far. And it's one that so far they don't have an answer to.
And they will continue to be stumped by the question. He was one pizza slice short of a party, but Fiestas abound now. G2 back up to the second knives of the half. Toronto already invested the knives on the side of Oxygen. The Blade Storm's there, and then you heard that one. Kellogg's dropping them out as well. So they want to go both. They want to invest it. Ooh, misses the shot. Unfortunate there as Toronto able to get one. Traded off, though, and that's the knives no longer in action. Finds more, and they continue to fly. A triple kill for Kellogg's. Goodness me, the guy's on fire.
Oh my god. I mean, for Oxygen, at least you can look at this and you can say, right, they have basically all of their ultimates. They got a lot of utility on their side, and I think they're going to have to start investing in it, because so far, their playing hasn't been enough. As brutal as that might sound, that just simply is the way that it is. So they might have to start using things like their lockdown to make space for themselves, because they simply haven't been able to take it so far. If you have somebody like Kellogg's who's holding that space back from you, you got to brute force your way in. You got to use what you have.
Mixwell locks down the A, and they actually leave 2 players pretty close to it, so not going for the solo Viper hold. Leaving Nuki as well in tow, but over towards the B site now. A face could come through. Oxygen want to face out. Slowed on the orb there from Avova, but disciplined fallback. And look at the flank coming in. It's going to be Kellogg's trying to go for the backstab. Shock dart's not really going to do too much there. And they haven't managed to make it all the way up to site just yet.
Still waiting to make that push. They're being kind of trepidatious, and you've literally got Avova just round the corner, who might cause a bit of a problem for them. Walls everywhere. There's the kill from Avova onto Toronto. It's going to send them into a bit of a frenzy.
Might pull them back as well towards The players at the back. There's the lockdown being invested by Oxygen. Oh dear, G2 might just be able to stick this one. If there's time, I think they have it. They're in the advance. And they're just going to go for the defuse. G2, I mean, they're losing a lot of players here, but it doesn't matter. The defuse came through and G2 win the round.
It almost felt like OXG are a bit tunnel visioned, you know? It's like they forget what the objective is because they're focusing on trying to get those kills. I mean, one thing that I think is worth bearing in mind, and I'd imagine that, you know, if there are a lot of people watching this who have only really been invested in the EU side of things and don't necessarily know a ton about what's been going on in the Turkish region, in the final game that OXG played in Challenges 1 of Stage 3 was against Supermassive Blaze, who are also here in the EMEA playoffs, and they lost Icebox in that series. But not only did they lose Icebox, they lost Icebox with a scoreline of 13-2. So
that's not good.
No, I hear that the maths on that conclude in a way that suggests it's not very good. So, I mean, historically, this is not necessarily the best map for OXG, and I think that's probably a significant reason why G2 have looked at this and said, okay, this is a map that's going to be quite weak for them. Now, this is kind of funny because I feel like G2 are just sort of like flaunting their money here. They've brought an Odin along, which I feel like if you're going to see an Odin in pro play, it's usually on Ascent than anything else, but you do you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, fair enough. Just make sure you get it done. I mean, 7 rounds up at this point. Is it really too much to wonder if they're going to be able to make use of it? Down the mid. There we go. There's the kill with the Odin. And a second. So it's already found its value. Nice one. Coldamenta leading from the front in the mid. Just slaughtering anyone who turns the corner. This is a rifle round as well for OXG, coming off a tactical timeout for them, and G2 just giving no quarter. Turn the corner with your ankles on exposed. Zistu, you know how that's going to go. And Oxygen just coming apart at the seams here.
It's very frustrating as well, because Zistu's one of those players who oftentimes you'll watch, and he can pop off. Like, he has his moments. And he just hasn't. He has not really done anything in this game so far. Then you compare that to someone like Kellogg's. Okay, finally gets shut down by Toronto, but that's just one death. You know, Toronto's still got 3 more players that he has to deal with. He knows that they're going to be coming for him as he backs over into the spawn, and eventually he's taken out. And OXG are still in this position where they have put no rounds on the board, and we are just 4 away from the half.
This is, there's not much to say about this game, because right now, it is domination, right, Gio? It's like 8-0 at the start, and it doesn't even feel like Oxygen have had a chance on their rifle rounds either. We're looking at another pistol buy, some Bulldogs being thrown into the mix. Okay, so fair enough, a little quasi-buy coming in, but what can they do? Where are the openings? There just don't seem to be any against this G2 defense.
Scanning ahead.
I mean, it makes me wonder, like, you know, would it have been an idea to bring Arena like G2 are doing? Because they don't really have any way of flashing out any of the enemies. And one thing that in OXG's game against Vodafone Giants that they did quite well was using flashes to create openings for themselves. And that's just not something that they really have the option to do here. They're still struggling to deal with Kellogg's. And even then, I say that as if Kellogg's is the only player who's been causing a problem for them. Coldamenta with the Odin, Nuke with some of these opening kills. We saw Mixwell a couple of rounds ago too. It's just something that OXG have not had an answer for.
They're just falling like flies time and time again. Coldamenta racks up another glove. Last standing for OXG. And they have to fall off. Another kill found. Goodness me, G2. Give them a break. They've got families.
Yeah, you gotta hope they're not watching.
Oh dear.
It's a shame as well because, you know, I've always thought OXG are actually quite a fun team to watch, and they're not really getting the option to show off much here. And as we saw, you know, on the desk, we had a little sneak peek into the team, and they were talking about what they want to achieve, and they said, yeah, we, you know, here is our achievements in the past that we've done well in the previous EMEA finals. We came 3rd to 4th, but we want to go to Berlin. This is not a performance that takes you to Berlin.
Hunter's Fury. A kill is found. Oxygen lose a player. I'll give you £10 if you can guess which round I'm casting, because quite frankly, I don't think you could really figure it out just off that. Zistu gonna find one, and Unity opens up for a second. Okay, this is a good start. They managed to get the res. 5 versus 3. What do you got? Coldament to Kelox and Avova to deal with. It's gonna be real tricky to make it work. Avova gets away with that one. And Kelox goes down. Oxygen, they might have been able to find an opening, but they need to convert, and it's still not over.
Zistu's still holding on to this same Viper's Pit that has been in pocket for ever since he picked it up. But he's so far back because they're watching out for some potential flank that it's not going to be used. And I don't know if you'd really want to use it when you've just got 2 players that you're going up against, but there's a kill coming in from Glove, so at least there's that. And finally, OXG actually get all of what they need. They get the kills, get the spike down. They finally got 1 round on the board. Now, it's still a very tall, not insurmountable, but a monolithic task, I feel, that is in front of them.
For sure, for sure. Kelox right now has more kills than the top 3 fraggers on OXG combined. And if that's not a monolith, I don't know what is.
Yes. Yes, that is a stat.
On 15 kills right now, Kelox. Top fraggers 5, 5, and 4. I'm not too sure what Toronto was shooting at there. Spooked by Mites, probably.
You got to remember as well. There's the double op on G2 in this round.
I didn't even notice that. Goodness me, Mixwell. Chiming in, playing back a B.
It was Mixwell who we were observing at the very beginning. Kelox is here holding mid. He gets 1. It's going to be really hard for anyone to really rotate through there. That Cloud Burst may have given OXG the actual option to get over towards the A site, but they're going to be met with those same adversaries that they've been fearing this entire time.
And look at this rotate coming through from Avova as well. They want to get this res on board and go back into this with 5. They are willing to give up some ground on the site. Nuki, if you can get a trade, fantastic. Get a little bit more back in. Coldamenta back into the fray. Lands the headshot there. Toronto traded it off. Dismiss is in, and Glove shuts it down, but Mixwell finally into the fray. Finds Glove. 28 HP left. 3 versus 2 right now. A G2 on the retake, but they haven't even got that spike in. Kelox still going. Toronto with the knives out, but Kelox has them too. But it's Mixwell to land the final blow. And G2 put that 10th up on the board. OXG's dreams of getting another round potentially dashed upon the rocks.
Oh, this is, I mean, yeah, it's looking really tough. So the last round of the half, even if OXG put this round up, the thing that they're going to be facing is they have to win the pistol round of the next half. If they do not, then they're probably guaranteed to lose the game, or lose the map, I should say. So regardless of what happens here, is relatively irrelevant because it's going to be the beginning of the next half that's going to be far more influential, I think, in what's going to happen going forward. Now, they have a lot of space controlling ultimates, so at least there's that. The G2 aren't afraid to get aggressive.
And when you got Mixwell with that Viper's Pit, can move over to the site. Killjoy dropping the ult. Trying to drop those shock darts and get it destroyed, and it will go through. Not really too much to do now. You're left wondering, what are we supposed to do now? Nuki around the side will be able to dismiss past Zistu. Finds one to trade it, however. Because now they have to play in the Viper's Pit. Zistu does go down. More found for Nuki. A triple kill on the round. Unity right in the crosshairs. And it's 4 kills for the final round and a half. G2 up to 11. And it is all but over here. OXG looking in shambles here on Icebox.
This is not good. I mean, I suppose there's always the chance that OXG could just go on this miracle run from here on out and take it to overtime. I mean, like, in theory, you don't even need it to go to overtime, but you're just seeing the way that G2 coordinate with each other like they are just one entity. It's so smooth, it's so fluid. I'm not feeling that from OXG. It feels disjointed. It feels kind of messy. They're not using utility necessarily where they should be. They're not, you know, I would look at a player like Mites and say, right, this is someone who's really good at trades. How many times have we seen Mites getting good trades? I don't think we've seen any trades from Mites so far.
Not really gonna have any advantage there. Kellogg's wants to go for one of those trades. Down the A long, but takes a tag and thinks better of it. Nuki able to find Toronto over towards the A, and that's going to be the go signal for G2 to move towards B. Force a rotate out towards A, have the advantage, grab that orb on the way in, closer to that Hunter's Fury. One more pizza slice picked up from the parlor. Zistu, though, finds Kellogg's as they turn the corner, spots the ankles, lands the head. And G2 think again.
They know that they have plenty of room, plenty of time to do this patiently. I don't think G2 feel pressured. Mixwell knows there's going to be someone here in mid. He does just narrowly see Unity, but can't quite catch him out. And there's the foot of Avova revealed itself to Zistu. There's pressure on all three major lanes here on Icebox still from the attackers.
Slowing it down, 30 seconds left. G2 spot out a player in mid, but Mixwell actually goes down there. Potentially a dropped ball. And they need to find something else. Mitez playing up close, looks for the frenzy. Is traded off, the spike gets dropped, and now G2 have a little bit of control over this A site, but with only two of them, they have their work cut out. Unity fast around the corner. Nuki goes down early. Coldamenta now left last standing. A really fast tap there, leaves him in a 1 versus 2. Trades sides, goes for more, finds the wallbang. 3 kills on the round, needs to go for the quad to be able to close the round, and he's able to do it. Coldamenta for G2 puts them on match point. Goodness me, what a gamer.
Match point.
See, to me, in my head, I think the fact that Glove didn't jump down at the point at which Coldamenta actually turned to his right and got the second kill, that would have been the perfect time for Glove to jump down, because then you can form a crossfire. But OXG didn't do that. Like, here, jump down. Zistu knew he was there. He could have called that. He could have said, right, he's on me. You know you're going to die. Take the opportunity to get the trade. And they didn't. They didn't form a crossfire. They didn't get a trade at any point. They just farmed themselves in. And now, what, G2 about to win this 13-1?
I mean, Gio, we actually had a limited number of Icebox rounds we were allowed to play on stream today, and we spent them all in the last match. So this is just what has to happen. Although, Zistu gets the opening pick, maybe looking to eat a little bit into the credit. Forwarded to future streams. Nuki looks for the spray at range for G2, and it's actually Oxygen to close the door just a little bit. Okay, fair enough. Only one player, and it's Kellogg's. I mean, the guy's been popping off. Is he going to be able to do too much more? No. And Oxygen, Geo, they get an extra round. 2 on the board.
Yeah, at the very least, they've met the scoreline that they got against Supermassive. So that's something.
You had to say it, didn't you? So rude, Geo.
What? I am just being informative and... Oh, what? I could turn around and be like, yeah, I mean, OXG have only ever won this map 13-0 every time they've played it, so this is an unprecedented disaster for that. It's not. Icebox is not their map.
You're right. What can I say? You are right. You're not wrong. Veracity verified. Got a cheeky little sheriff shot to the dome. We'll see Mitez back to spawn for the next round. No reses available. Not just yet. Anyway, Toronto now next to FAZE for the sprays up high, and Coldamenta domes him as well. The second dink comes in, and Glove at range with a Spectre. Not really the challenge you want to be taking with these sheriffs. G2 have thinned the herd that they're coming up against. Zistu taken down as well. They're taking the fights at range, Gio, and it's just working. Kellogg's looks for more and gets it. Just Glove now standing. And G2 say, you can do pistol rounds, so can we. 5 players still standing in Glove's position, fully known. Spike going to B. But Kellogg's wants to be the one to put the final nail in the coffin, and I think fair enough. His performance here on Icebox has been stellar. Is he going to be able to find it? No, not quite yet. As Glove brings them down to 4. Spike planted over on the B site. Mixwell, the last to get the job done. 13-2. G2 dominate Icebox.
So it was the exact same scoreline as OXG's last time playing on this map. And, I mean, it didn't even feel like a full game. It was just bizarre. And if you are OXG at this point, you have got a really, really huge weight on your shoulders, knowing that, you know, you have to win out the rest of this series if you're going to be continuing continuing on forward, the map you've picked is Breeze. And while, yeah, you may have had some good times on Breeze recently, it's still a new map. It's still a map that you are not going to have tons of experience on. And G2 are not exactly awful at it either. So if I'm OXG, I'm sweating.
Oh, 100%. And, you know, you have to wonder, they banned Bind, and if they're playing Icebox, you have to wonder, what's their Bind like? Ooh, begs the question. But we are going to go to a short break. When we come back, we've got the Analyst desk to break things down a little bit further. What are they going to make of that? I have no idea. We'll see you after the break.
Spike down mid. Last player standing. 30 seconds left. Spike planted.
Well, I must be seeing in G2D, man, because that was so one-sided just then. I don't know what to say, dude. Icebox goes in favor of the G2 squad. They never even really break a sweat, do they? Zesht, I want you to try and give me some words of encouragement for G2. You know, like talk them up, really big up how they just performed here at the 13 ones.
Yeah, so my words of encouragement for G2 would be open up VLR and look at your ACS stats. To be very honest, a thing that I find very wonderful to see is Kellogg's having space and freedom. We talked about him being this young gun who sometimes needs to be a bit on the leash, right? But understandably, because he still has a good finger thing or two to learn. At the same time, it was a masterclass from him. And that masterclass paid off massively. It's wonderful to see what he can do when he has the space and freedom. And maybe this is something a guy like this needs, because see it like that, the first time on this big international stage with all those different regions coming together, and then getting such a first confident result where all of those new styles meet up, I think that's wonderful to see for me.
You know, I just wanted to find out one thing. You mentioned ACS, and there's like 4 people from G2 having like over 140 ADR every single time, you know, and then there's Avova in like the back of the team with 6 kills, 50 ADRs.
That's the
like,
Sage,
hey,
you know, just playing for reses.
he didn't have much space to do anything because everything was already cleaned up.
Everything was already done, right? Like, he's showing up to do his chores, mate, and they've already done it. So, yeah, I mean, this was a very one-sided game, right? There is no ignoring that. But there were at least, you know, like, if you want to look at this as anything, it's like, wow, G2 are looking how we want them to look. We're getting the performances we want out of these guys. And with keloqz and Nuki up towards the top of the board, I think that's a pretty, like, perfect way for this to go. I don't think I'd be feeling much better if we were stood here going, I can't believe Oxygen have just won this, right? That kind of would have been a cool result, but certainly not what you want from like a storyline perspective in building G2 up as one of the titans of EU, right, Serge?
Exactly. And you know what I have to say though about this game? One thing that particularly stood out to me is Mites. And you might ask yourself, hold on, how is right now Killjoy of Oxygen so crucial? I think you and I would agree that a Killjoy is one of the players that has by far the most crucial utility. And this guy had 7 opening duels, which not necessarily were that he wanted to take those opening duels, but he has died 7 times as the first frag. You have to see 7 times early utility, the impactful utility of Killjoy is being lost. And we had 15 rounds. That's nearly the half of it, right? And that is a little bit concerning.
Well, Oxygen has 2 first bloods in the entire game. So 13, exactly the amount that G2 won rounds, right? They had just 13 first bloods out of 15, which is pretty nuts. There's not much to say in a game like that what happened, but there were some odd things and small details. Like an example, I personally dislike the toxic orb used on containers on B, which is used in a combination of a Viper wall straight up towards the B long and to cut off the garage, because it's easily like overshadowed by a Sova drone on attack and a pushy jet that goes on top of the container, and you typically lose that advantage. But we've seen Xisto from Oxygen push for a one-way on the container and dying. Those, I feel like the mental side of Oxygen here on this map was tested heavily, which doesn't bode well for the next map, because they were making some silly moves that were just punished by G2 very heavily.
Yeah, and you know, seeing as this was a pretty one-sided matchup, what I would like to do with you guys now, before we move on to talking about this next map, it is just like a little bit of a take on what we're seeing from FPX and SMB over on the second stream, right? Over there, SMB's in the lead right now. FPX are behind. That's over on Ascent, the map pick of SMB. That's pretty cool, right? Like, this SMB squad meant to be the Turkish super team, as it were. That's a good feeling that they're able to long it out versus FPX, who have shown to be a very, very resilient squad. What do you take of that, Zesh? Like, I know we don't know the results just yet, or at least I don't, because we are doing this whole desk thing, right?
Right.
So.
We gotta stand here and talk and act like we know something. But at the same time, you have to really notice that already yesterday, Fireflux, they brought FPX on the edge, right? They forced him in overtime over on Ascent. The second map didn't look too good, but I think nerves came into play there. When we talk about supermassive plays, I personally believe with Paura there, he has a bit more experience in that sense, not discrediting Fireflux at all. Much respect to their performance there against the giants of the giants of FPX. At the same time, it's super interesting to see once more this clutch between the regions where FPX might struggle against such a team. At the same time, we know the mental strength FPX delivers. I could imagine this could be even a free mapper over on the other stream.
By the way, since we talk about some, like, you know, off topics and so on, I would like to point out one niche thing that happened in this map between G2 and Oxygen, not often you see a 12-1 scoreline, right? Especially after you win the pistol round. And G2 was in a situation when they know exactly what the opponent will do. Typically, when you play a game, you're going to be like double guessing, oh, the opponents have enough cash for them to force and so on, but will they do that? What they will do on that round and so on, right? But G2 was in a situation when they are 100% certain that the opponents have to force because it's a 1-12 scoreline. So if they lose the entire match, right? So I was wondering if it's possible as G2 in this position to have a call after they win the pistol round, be like, hey, wait, we're gonna not buy anything for this second round after we win the pistol round to just get some sheriffs here and there, try to damage the economy of that force buy, and then buy rifles for round 3. So you essentially close it because you end the previous round. So it's a 13-2 anyway. Although they did win the low buy, so it doesn't matter.
So then they win
much.
the low buy, which sadly takes away from this. Also, look at that lower third. SMB 13-6 FPX. That certainly makes that series look all the more exciting. Split is going to be the second map over there. And that, of course, is the map pick of FPX. So that's all heating up. The map that we're about to head to, that's a little bit of breeze. That's everyone's favorite, right? Oxygen going to be having their task cut out for them here, right? This is one that we've seen G2 play a handful of times. Oxygen have played it once. They have that win over Giants as well. Is there anything you can give me, Zesh, to try and get me on the Oxygen train before we head to a break?
You know, I think Vodafone Giants is a different caliber than G2, to be very frank. I mean, obviously, Vodafone Giants has been doing a great run over there in Challengers 2 in Europe. At the same time, G2 seemed to really work together like a well-oiled machine at that point in time. And Breeze maybe not play too often. At the end of the day, still something where I think if Calyx once more has the same freedom, he individually will perform, and then everybody else will flourish. Because we didn't only see him perform, everybody was part of the attack.
Yeah, Lothar, is this one of these situations where just kind of pound for pound in terms of, and I never really liked this word, but just in terms of like the raw firepower, the raw ability on G2, and I guess the experience that comes with that, is that what we're looking at to take them over the line here versus Oxygen?
I think one might be one of the aspects, but we have to remember that Oxygen just came from a huge defeat, and they're gonna play on a map that they only played once in the recent history, right? And they play also with a very interesting lineup, because it's actually a pretty cool lineup. They have an Astra in it typically, which means they play two controllers, the Viper and an Astra, to have a little bit more space on the attack, which is very cool. But the thing is, Oxygen, I feel like they crumbled under that pressure that they had been, you know, on Icebox. Will that be transferred towards Breeze? Because they need to just shake that like a wet dog, you know?
I think, you know, like kind of building off of that, right? This would be a hard enough game to build back into if you didn't just get bodied, right? Even if it was close, you might find yourself struggling. And it's like the added X factor of that being an insanely dominant scoreline. Well, now you're probably in your head a little bit, right?
Well, that's what we have witnessed from FPX yesterday, right? They were losing 2-10 and they just shaken off. There was no pressure after losing 2-10, right? And they still made the comeback. Will Oxygen do the same on the second map? I hope so.
Yeah, this is going to be the ultimate test. This is it. Can Oxygen bounce back? Are they resilient enough? Or are G2 just built different? Find out in a moment. Before we went to a break, we posed the question, are Oxygen resilient enough? Are they going to have that mental fortitude to build back into this game? One of the big things now, right, is we look at G2, and for these guys, it's another day in the office, right? Like, they're going to be showing up feeling fine coming into this. So what can we expect to see out of this one? We got the agent select going on. Lothar, talk me through it. Are we going to get something standard here out of G2?
Oh, I see a small change from G2 because Mixwell was playing on Killjoy before. This is actually super... Is this first time we're seeing Mixwell on Sky? I think it is, if I'm not mistaken. This is actually everything that I wanted to say before we went into this agent select just went straight out of the window because G2 was playing super aggressively on A. This might be also encouraging even more of that behavior on defense, and they were also super aggressive on plants. Typically, G2 on this map is planting between 20 to 30-second mark. Well, it's a small sample size, but still. It shows how aggressive they are. And with this lineup, Double Duelist, the Sky, and the Cypher instead of the Killjoy, which I very much like because it has such a global area of effect, it's actually a nice lineup brought by G2 after the month hiatus on this map. So this is pretty cool. And when it comes to Oxygen, well, they do play the Astra lineup, so no surprises here. This is the exact same lineup that they brought up last time on Breeze, but they only played this map once. The problem with the Killjoy over the Cypher is that the fact you have a limited range of your movement on such an open map like Breeze, right?
Yeah, it's kind of like the polar opposite of what we discussed, you know, the benefits of having her on Icebox.
Exactly.
And so as we get ready to head into Breeze...
Harry's learning.
Yeah, man, I am. I'm picking it up, dude. I have two great teachers over here. So, you know, here's the other thing that I'm kind of looking at is I love the synergy between Sky and Viper. I think that's one of my favorite things that I've got to witness. I really like that we see Mixwell leaning into a Sky pick here. I think that's going to open up the field to play massively. I'm not a big Astra fan, if I'm going to be honest. Can you try and make a case for playing her here for me, Zesh? Can you educate me?
Well, interestingly enough, first of all, Astra in Europe is only picked by Fnatic on this map. That is one part that should be really pointed out here. Astra is super rare, right? Astra is something you hardly see on this map because the same case with Icebox, the bloom of the smoke sometimes isn't enough and it leaves an edge for some degree. At the same time, I still think this agent is valuable. Its dropped rate is not really deserved. And the regions like Turkey and like CIS, they've picked up this agent way more recently.
Also, Astra on Breeze specifically on this map has a little bit more value than on the other ones because of the same reason why Viper is so valuable on this map. The reason, the wall. The Toxic Screen and Astra on the Cosmic Divide have exactly the same purpose. You divide A side, you divide B side, or you just divide the map in half, which is something that you have more pressure now available to you because typically when you use the Viper wall, you're committed, right? With Astra's ultimate here, that you will be able to like play twice on the attack, you have a little bit more leeway and flexibility.
Well, I'm really excited now, Lothar. You've done a good job about getting me hyped. Let's see, can they divide and conquer, or is this going to be a G2-0? We're going to head over to Gio and to John Allen to find out.
Thank you very much, guys. I'm hoping that Oxygen are going to have a little bit more of a stiff opposition here for this next game, but Breeze is going to be open. Hopefully, a breath of fresh air. John here with Gio. Yet again, we're going to be having a lot more fun, to be sure.
Yeah, I mean, I really hope so. Of course, we did get to see OXG play this map, against Vodafone Giants yesterday, and it was really exciting, but as they said on the desk, that's the only time that OXG have played it. So they're really taking a gamble on this map by bringing G2 here. And after the way that G2 played on Icebox, there's certainly going to be a shot of fear running through their veins. But also for me, I personally think that the fact that G2 are changing up their composition that they like to play on Breeze suggests they've got something planned. They've obviously been scrimming this map as, I mean, basically any team will have been, I would assume, but they have been cooking something up. And for me, that's nerve-wracking if you're OXG, and also consider that OXG will have been preparing or gone back and watched VODs of G2 playing a different roster, a different playstyle. They would have been expecting the Killjoy. They wouldn't have been expecting the Sky. Those kinds of considerations have now changed.
Certainly some interesting interactions to be coming through in the next game. Oxygen tried to stop G2 going through, and Toronto will tag the backs and drop the spike. Mitez as well chimes on in, but Kelox is not done just yet. Finds one, finds two, on the swivel, finds three. Dashes back to the rest of the team. However, the spike firmly in control of OXG right now. Unity tries to go for the long-range fight and finds Kelox, finally ending his reign of terror. Avova tries to take the fight at range, but has to fall off. Spike still not in control. Down by the double doors on the passage to mid and spotted out by Glove in the mid. Will get the headshot. Vova falls and OXG, they get around.
Oh, all right. Immediately it's going better than Icebox did, so that's great. Let's stop the count. No, I mean, it's a nice way of opening up there for OXG to get the pistol round. Should give them a sweet little boost that they'll need to kick things off and hopefully put a couple of rounds on the board before potentially finding it a little bit harder as things start to ramp up later on. It's something that they really, well, failed to acquire for themselves on Icebox, where it was, we were something like 9 rounds in before they put their first round on the board.
Yeah, it took quite a while. I think it was somewhere around that mark. I don't think it was quite 10-0. I'd have to go back and double check. But yeah, no, it's absolutely a change of tune in OXG, showing life here on Breeze. Oxygen having a little bit more breathing room here. A little bit of a technical timeout came through before, but we're back into the mix. And G2 now have to answer after that first round, looking to try and attack A site from a different avenue this time. They got position over the top as well, as they aren't going to be able to stop it. Kelox actually looking for the plant as well. Avova gets one and they're traded off. Looks for more, but only finds the damage. Nuki finds another kill. Kelox doesn't quite land the shots there. Dashes back into cover and again misses, goes out wide. Unity racks up 2 kills. Sorry, 2 kills found, 4 G2 on the round, 3 stay alive. They get the spike down, and Kelox is up to the Bladestorm.
Already. Though, you know, with OXG, we saw a share of the kills. It was Toronto, Zisto, and Unity who got the kills in that round. And I just wanted to say, when I saw Zisto get those 2 kills, I just wanted to be like, yes, this is the Zisto I was talking about in Icebox. You know, I know it's early. I know we're not on a full buy in that round or anything like that. But it was something that Zisto was really failing to procure at all on Icebox. So it is kind of refreshing to see coming in very early in this next map that he is, you know, getting those kills on the board, racking up the multi-kills, whatever, because it's something that was uncharacteristic to not see.
Unity gets the first of the duel with the Bulldog. Mixwell does go down, and it's not even traded off. That is unfortunate for G2. Kelox takes a lot of damage there. And they want mid control. You can see they're vying for it. Coldamenta up close. So's Avova looking to try and move into that position, but the amount of utility that they have to worry about is just so damaging towards that A site. You've got, obviously, the Killjoy utility, but the Astra stuff that's been layered down on top of that. It's very hard to move forwards, and when you've got Viper to contend with on B, you don't have good options.
Nico's just waiting to open up that doorway. It's been done. Coldamenta getting the kill onto Zistu. It's a 4 versus 4 at this point. The attackers have cut the site in half. But you've still got Mitez down by the entrance of Cave. Just watching out for anyone who could come in through there. It's just whether he's aware of everyone else's position. He finds Coldamenta.
Avova will be the death of him.
30 seconds left.
Says will fall. Kelox now challenging for Glove and will be able to get the kill as well. Moving back, Toronto, position unknown right now. They don't really know where this threat is. See Avova checking towards the cave. Checking towards spawn. Information gathering here and is spotted out by Nuki. Final kill found and G2 put one up on the board.
Yeah, it was scrappier, and of course, you know, with it being around number 3, G2 had the full buy in hand, OXG did not. And that's really been the pattern so far, is pretty much in most of the maps that we've seen. You know, you would expect the team to actually be behind the team who had been leading in those first 2 rounds, to not be the one who'd necessarily win round number 3. And in fact, OXG aren't going to be investing much of the money that they have now. They're just going to be picking back up the weapons that they lost, not going for anything hyper expensive. And this is basically for the most part, an eco.
And keloqz, he loves to stomp them. They will be going straight on through, finding 2, and wants to challenge for more, moving forwards with the Vandal. And he's going to line them up. I mean, why not? 4 kills for keloqz so far. Hasn't even used the knives, but he'd already have 2 if he had. keloqz just dominating here. Unity has the Bulldog, so potential for a long-range fight, but who's that coming over the hill? It's keloqz. He hears the updraft and he knows he's for it. Ace found for keloqz. And OXG, they dip down, and look at that. keloqz pretty chuffed.
Yeah, that reaction. He's pretty happy with that one. Immediately even things out now. Have G2. Maybe all they needed was just to kind of get back into the flow, recover from the fact that they didn't win the opening pistol round, because, I mean, keloqz really feeling himself in that one.
This guy's cracked, honestly. This is, I mean, to be fair, you know, you're against pistols, but like that lineup, it would have worked against rifles.
Well, speaking of going against rifles, this is actually the first time that OXG are going to be bringing them. And not just that, but Toronto is going to have an op as well. And Toronto on the operator has been pretty good. keloqz still getting the opening kill, though. Not onto Toronto, however. So the operator's still in play. We did see it work very well against Vodafone.
Oh, he started to play the game now. He forgot to plug his mouse in, I guess, in the first 2 rounds. He's just coming in and just fragging out his mind. Already 2 found. Going to be channeling in towards Toronto, who has the operator. Navova moves forwards. Plant coming in. Mixwell's there. And more challenge to be found. Glove, though, wins that trade. Nuki trades it back yet again. And surprise, surprise, keloqz yet again with a triple kill. 2 on the trot. This guy is a machine. It's insane. Teach me, please.
They are
13 kills.
I
think he actually, just some quick maths there, I think he has equaled the total kills of the enemy team.
I mean, this is a very similar thing to what we saw in Icebox as well, but it's for different reasons, and it's the fact that keloqz just has so much space available to him. And I think when you consider the fact that, you know, Mites, he was the first one to go down in that last round, you would look to an Astra to be one of those players, especially on a composition like this, to be denying so much of that space, because who really is going to do it, other than Viper, I guess, if she's not there? And it's something that they've struggled with consistently over these 2 maps.
keloqz just wants to keep going for fight after fight after fight, and he's winning them. This is pretty... I mean, this is the G2 that we saw on Icebox. The first 2 rounds, nothing to go by. It was a pistol and a conversion. keloqz just nails these shots, and it feels like Oxygen... It feels like they've resigned. Like, it feels like they've resigned themselves to their fate to be under pressure from keloqz. And what are they going to do about it? There's just so little. He's untouched. He's 150 HP still.
This is also so different from the OXG that we saw playing yesterday, but this is where you actually have to consider the differences in the way that their opponent play, because one of the big things that I noticed about OXG, particularly when they were defending on Breeze against Giants yesterday, was they were very good at taking these empty avenues and collapsing in on the attackers. But a lot of that came because Vodafone were not necessarily sending out any kind of lurks, any kind of flanks. They didn't have attackers taking space elsewhere on the map, so that space was free for Oxygen to take. It's the entire opposite here.
Another rifle round now up for Oxygen, and another chance to try and get a few more kills on the board. Glove trying to challenge down in the middle tube. One of the 2 operators playing on the defense right now. They want to keep keloqz at range. I mean, fair enough. Why wouldn't you? Mixwell, I think he knows. Oh, he definitely does, but he misses the shot. Toronto has to fall backwards. Actually wants to challenge again, and this time we'll find Coldamenta instead. Falls back towards the A site. In comes the Empress, though, for Nuki. As they move in, they want to try and take this fight. 2 operators with crossing sight lines here. And G2, they get to the site, they get the plant, but what more can they get? keloqz, he gets a kill. I mean, it wouldn't be a round of this match without G2 keloqz getting a kill. Unfortunately, that will be all he's going to get. I have no idea how that one missed, but it will do nonetheless. And Nuki lands the retribution, lands a second as well, and it's his turn to pop off. Mixwell gets the last, and it's 5-2 on the board for G2.
Oh my goodness. I mean, I was glad to see that OXG were using some utility. We did see on Icebox, they got a lot of their ultimates very early and then held on to them
605
for a decent amount of
average
time.
combat score.
It is just, yeah, I just don't know what to say about that. It's just crazy. You know, what I was going to say as well is, you know, one of the things that OXG did invest in that round was the Seekers, but they didn't actually find anybody. So where OXG thought that they were going to have information, they still didn't. All they knew at that point is, okay, there's no one in tube.
Buried.
What a kill. Toronto goes down. It's another pistol. And what can Oxygen pick back up here? I mean, they've got 2 rounds, sure, but it just feels like they don't have... G2 are just moving so effectively against them. And it feels like a little bit of a mental boom coming through from Oxygen. I hope that they can pick something back up, and maybe taking down Kelox is the way to do it, but when the rest of your teams just falls, a 5-for-1 trade is never going to be worth it, Gio.
That whole round was just a, what do you call it? Like a honey trap? Is that what they're called? To like entice OXG in. The way that, you know, you obviously had players going over towards B, they wanted to plant the spike, whatever, so OXG knew there were people on the site. And then you got someone present in elbow, but not really overzealously like walking forward. And then you had Nuki based over towards the trapdoor. So you're enticing OXG to come into mid, and you're perfectly set up to punish it.
The dogs go by one another. Gravity well timed out. Nuki does go down there. Toronto lands the shot. The mid control being vied for. Kelox on the operator.
Got your trail. Here.
This time around will be on a different big old gun there, and Mixwell does fall. They try to turn the corner, and it's denied. Oxygen. A lot of players over towards A, but this time Avova moves out effectively. Zistu, though, shuts it down. Won't let them get away with it. Coldamenta moving forwards a little bit further than Kelox, but they have mid-control here. Spike not in possession. As Kelox finds Glove, Coldamenta wants to challenge over towards Toronto as the shot doesn't land for him. Cybercage to just block off that avenue of entry, and Zistu falls. It doesn't matter where he goes, he's just a reign of terror. This guy's evened the score lines now, the count of players going both ways. Coldamenta moving back, grabbing the spike, but there's a player to worry about. Toronto lands the headshot with a classic 38 seconds, and Kelox has to do it here. Knives not available. Unity moving up close, first to face, the shoulder's there, and Kelox racks up 3. Needs to get 4 to win the round, as 27 seconds left on the clock. Not much utility, but has the tailwind, has the updraft in tow. Oh, what? Okay. I mean, fair enough, fair try, but in the end, Oxygen, Toronto, with a triple, closes it down for a third.
All right, and the important thing there is Toronto actually gets to keep the operator, and they don't have to buy a new one, because, you know, OXG, it's been a little while since they put a round on the board, and they need to kind of redistribute their wealth that they gain from that round elsewhere. So I think that's it's a not insignificant point there. This is interesting that G2 have decided that they're taking their tag time out immediately after that, because OXG are really nowhere near to encroaching on G2's lead that much here. I suspect that a lot of it is because they know that now OXG, they can afford to buy up real weapons. They've got some utility in pocket. So the opportunities for OXG to actually have an effective round and an effective defense in this round going forward is actually a lot higher.
Rifles are back on in. I wonder what they're going to give to Kelox. I mean, he doesn't have that Blade Storm. There is money for drops, so they will be able to buy pretty effectively here. In terms of ults, though, you've got to look at it. You've got the lockdown coming in for Oxygen, and that could be pretty crucial.
Yeah, I mean, I'd be interested to see where they would use that if they did. I mean, consider where Zistu is right now. He's over on the A side, but G2 haven't really been making a lot of cave pushes or anything like that. So those stars that are placed there You know, they've been used a couple of times, but not really to hold back an attack. We'll see where it is the G2 even decide to go. But that hasn't really been their forte so far.
No, that Kellogg's has been.
Yeah, there's that.
I think that's fair enough. Zistu doesn't want to challenge here. You really don't want to challenge here. But he is going to do it nonetheless. And will go down, pay the iron price. And
I
Oxygen
appreciate the
turns to
courage.
Rust. Yeah, I mean, a bold play. And it didn't pay off for him, Cotton.
Believe in your
It's just
convictions.
not going to happen. Oh, they kill Kellogg's. Okay, round open. Let's see what they can do. Last time it was Nukia to just shut this one down. Even when they had killed Kellogg's, but that's an operator potentially in the hands. Toronto already got one. Mixwell looking to try and lead the charge straight on through. Flash over the top, but Avova gets it good. Unity will trade it. Now 3 versus 3 overall. Snakebite to try and displace G2, and Mitez needs to get for the spray first. Toronto gets one. Mitez gets a second, and now it's all up to Avova. Gets one. Looks for a second, but Unity triples up, and the defuse can come through. Oxygen 6-4.
There you go. They didn't actually need to use any of their ultimates, but truthfully, I think a lot of that did come down to the fact that, you know, you bring Kellogg's down, and it just gave them a lot more space. It's not even necessarily a case of like, oh, this guy is fragging, he's killing everyone. It's the fact that he could hold really necessary space that the defenders would want to have for themselves. They don't have to worry about what's going on behind them if he's dead. So it just gave them a lot more room to actually focus on what's happening here on the A site, coordinate with each other, get these kills amongst one another, and move in on that. Because there isn't some like dude with an operator somewhere behind them who's going to push up.
We're in round 11, Gio, and Kellogg's still has as many kills as the entire enemy team combined.
Oh my god.
Still, 22 kills. For the entirety of Oxygen. 22 kills for Kellogg's. Who would win? An entire team of professional Valorant players or one zoomy boy? Mitez, though, goes down and will get traded out. 1 for 1 right now. Toronto doesn't quite have the angle they're looking for. Moving the spike actually back towards defender spawn as both players move in. Nuki is going to be backed up by Cold Mentor, but Nuki finds the frag. Triple kill on the round so far. Makes it to the pillar as Zistu and Glove find one apiece. Spike is there on the site. Cold Mentor can pick it up, get the spike in, and it's 2 versus 2 for the post-plant Geo.
Nice moving in here from OXG, especially when you consider all their utilities over towards A. Coldmentor trying to take some shots, but it's going to be Zistu to land that one. It's just Avova. Wants to come in from behind.
This is pretty huge. Oh, sees the flash, knows there's another player there. Doubles up. It was actually killing the lockdown as he went for the spray through the wall and did manage to get it, which means that the site was relatively open. G2, though, they pick up another round. And they will continue to rain terror. 7-4 in the half, and to be honest, that scoreline doesn't tell you how dominant it's been, I feel.
No, no, it's only really in recent rounds that OXG have been able to pick much up and put them on the board. Now, they do, of course, have the opportunity to end this at 7-5. I don't know if you have a look at, you know, what's been bought for each of these teams, what weapons they're going to be bringing. I don't think it's likely to end at 7-5. I think this is going to be an 8-4. Well, we'll see. Nukia opening things up.
Empress there. Toronto, though, with the knives available. Coldamenta doubles up, though, and Avova gets another. And now it's just Unity. I think you're right. I mean, even when they're killing Kellogg's, they have to invest so much to do it. And Unity's already dropped the Viper's Pit over on the B site. So that's not going to be available. Spike going down, and you have to go for it. Lear, camera, they know exactly where you are. Unity needs to go for the challenge, but it's shut out. You're right, Gio. 8-4 at the half. G2 looking strong.
Yep, looking very good at this point. And this is OXG's map, don't forget. And, of course, they have to win it if they have any hope of winning this series against G2, because they would have to go to map number 3 and win that one as well. Now, given that this was their map, it meant that G2 got to pick which side they started on. So in theory, this next half would maybe be the half that OXG are going to feel more comfortable on. We'll see how this works out for them. again, I'm still keeping one eye on this whole Astra thing, because while they've obviously been investing a lot in the utility, laying down all these stars and whatnot, they haven't done too much to impede G2 so far. I want to see if that changes now they're on the attack.
They can cut.
First kill going over to Oxygen. They won the pistol in the first half, Geo. And look how that turned out.
Here.
They already get 2 rounds off it. And we thought maybe they have a shout, but G2 real strong. Avova looking to challenge, finds 1, finds 2, goes to the reload, can't find another. But damage already done, and given the time of things as well, you've got Kelox moving through. The Sheriff is in. 3 shots to be invested there. It has to tailwind away, and that's the spike getting dropped as well. 2 versus 2 now, and they can fall back. They've done a lot. Allow Coldamenta to move back up to the tube, move to the back of A site, and really start to control these sight lines. With Kelox playing up towards mid, it's going to be a mighty tall order for them to be worried about here. They might get the plant, but Kelox, ever watchful, ever waiting, plays close, spots 1, looks for more, can't quite find it. Zistu going into a 1 versus 1 and actually gets the quad on the round. Oxygen win and get their 5th on the board.
I do wonder where Unity was looking when he got killed. You have Zistu right next to you who's checking that corner. You gotta look forward, my dude. Someone's gonna catch you out. But, you know, regardless, OXG, they do put the pistol on the board. I think that's a very good thing. Once again, you know, we saw OXG take the first 2 rounds on the first half. They really need that here. Even if G2 come back and they actually take the 3rd round of this half as they did on the first, OXG need whatever boost that they can get. And, you know, being able to have this partial buy here while G2 are left on the pistols, yeah, that's going to give them that.
B site, yet to find the pick, but Avova gone low. They want to take the fight to him. Actually managed to sneak fairly successfully all the way around. Look at this off angle. Avova, secret agent Cody Banks here, able to get the spike planter as well and delay things even further. Traded off, sure, and there's the flash from Mitez. Mixwell goes for the challenge, 15 XP. Kelox chimes in as well. Now 3 players alive. There's a lot more firepower, though, still in the hands of Oxygen. As Nuki finds out all about it, the Bulldog will be able to get the spray down at range. The spike finally getting planted again. Unity moves through with a flank, and now Mixwell and Coldamenta left last standing. But cheeky little click there from Coldamenta. Keeps his adventure going into the round. Picks up a Vandal as well. Is he going to challenge this? I feel like he wants to go for it. They want to invest. They know they're going to be buying up next round anyway. They have the money. They have the cash. And Toronto stays behind the wall. They don't know he's moving forwards, but time not on his side. Now they know the position. Toronto spins out, tailwind back in, and the Bulldog on the corner pre-fired excellently as Zistu lands another shot here. 8 and 6.
Once again, I mean, Zistu looks a lot more comfortable than on Icebox. Kelox is no longer higher than all of OXG combined, but still doing
makes me sad.
Very well. I'm really sorry to hear that, John. It must be really hard when your biases as a caster are shut down by in-game performances. I'll be sure to write a complaint to G2.
Without pulling them in.
I'm gonna complain to Oxygen, to be honest. Vital for life, but so rude when it comes to my preconceptions.
No, man, I mean, Oxygen, they are actually sneaking up to where G2 are at. They're going to be bringing out the lockdown as well. Maybe going to push some of those players from G2 aside. I mean, you can see Avova is over by the perimeter of the circle, but Mixwell's still very much within it. And actually, Avova, okay, gets 4 kills from where he's standing. Can't quite make it an ace. But damn, G2 really saw that round. They said, you're locked down? No.
They didn't lock down the whole site, and they allowed Avova to be playing around the back of the pyramids, to be able to take the angles, take the fight. They weren't even too worried about it. I feel like that's a little bit of a dropped ball there from Oxygen. They invested a really powerful ultimate in the form of that lockdown. Maybe better to keep it for that post plant, but you allow Avova to be in that position, he is just going to spray you down. You find out all about it. Kelox died, sure. Avova died, sure. But in the meantime, everybody fell down, and it just was not going to go their way. G2 9 and 6.
really one of those problems with the Killjoy as well, is, you know, this is such a big site. Ooh. Oh man, Kellogg's doesn't even have the opportunity to use the blades. Toronto Emitters out here with the sheriffs. Pew pew.
Laying down the law.
Absolutely.
Coldamenta missing those shots, uncharacteristic, but finally lands them up. There's the triple. Okay, fair enough.
Is he missing those shots, John?
He was hurting them with his shots. It's like, if I line them up, if I make sure they're all in a line, I'll get a triple kill really easily.
Exactly. That's the big brain.
All planned, all calculated.
Trying to find unity. Doesn't take too long. 4 kills there for Coldamenta. They didn't need Kellogg's and his blades.
Hey, look, we had
perfectly well.
We had the Kellogg show, then we had the Avova show. This time it was the Coldamenta show. Just wait for... Well, to be fair, Nuki had a pretty stonking round earlier as well when Kellogg's died early. Was able to shut it all out.
Basically, it's Mixwell we're waiting on.
We're waiting for Mixwell. We're waiting for Mixwell's round. Oh, where is it?
Mixwell's basically like, look, I'm the only one on this roster who's been here for a really long time. I've done my duty. Everyone else can just... You youngins.
Backbone player. Kellogg's, though, really being the forefront.
I've got your trail.
Unfortunately, will get taken down as Zistu's really been stepping up for Oxygen. I feel like this guy is just keep it on going, and fair enough, finds a second as well. Coldamenta dismantled Mixwell. Where you at? It's your time to shine, maybe. Nuki goes down, so does Avova. Okay, now's your chance. 3 players. Still left standing. Low HP. Operator in hand for Mixwell. I mean, we said we wanted it, Gio.
This is his chance.
It's time. This is opportunity. Just waiting. Got it out.
Opportunity.
I understand. Doors closed. Will not be able to get in there. Mixwell just looking for exits now. Just trying to spot it. Knows that there's players trying to potentially move up behind him, but just trying to cover it off. Not too sure if he's safe there, and actually... Very much not. Mixwell gets donked in the back of the head and will go down 10-7. Now, as Oxygen pick up another round. Double digits, though, for G2.
I mean, that's really unfortunate there as well, because I would argue that the priority there would have been to have kept the operator, right? So for him to have died right at the end, and you're seeing Kellogg's actually have to spend 5,100 credits instead of just going for 400, which he would have if he didn't have to buy the op.
Yeah, it's not ideal. Far from it. Take a look at some of the replays here.
Right there.
I have to say, it seems like Zistu is really starting to step up. Top in the tables right now for this half. For the game right now on Oxygen. I think 15 kills total on the board. He's really started to come alive here towards the second phases of this game. 10 rounds on the board, though, for G2. They're 3 rounds away from securing their way to those upper bracket semifinals. If they can make it happen. And Gio, I think they can.
I mean, they definitely have it in them. From everything that we have seen of G2, you can absolutely say that they do. You also have to remember, right, that in order for G2 to qualify here for the playoffs, so they did it in Challenges 1 of Stage 3, and they did it as this lower bracket insane run, because they went down into the lower bracket on their first game. But they were the team to knock out teams like Fnatic. They were the team to knock out teams like FPX. So this has really been like a Titan destroyer of EU. And now we're coming into the playoffs and we're seeing G2 actually show that against teams from outside of that region too. Because of course, OXG, they're a Turkish team. They don't play in VCT EU. They're a team who have been around for a little while. And yes, the org G2 has been around in Valorant for a little while, but this specific roster hasn't. This is really the first time that we're seeing them play this kind of interregional, stage. And they are seemingly having a very similar experience to what they did at the end of Challenges 1, except this time they haven't even touched the lower bracket yet. So...
no, not yet. Yeah, they're just undroppable.
Yeah. So, absolutely, this is a team that has the potential to just go all the way through and qualify themselves straight into Berlin. But I'm at least glad to see that here on Breeze, unlike Icebox, OXG are giving them a hard time about it. And OXG still have it in them to actually take this map as well. So nothing is guaranteed just yet. They're only a couple of rounds behind. You know, they've got a decent buy for this next round as well, as we just come out the tail end of this technical timeout. So there is a decent potential for them to actually win this round too, because, you know, for example, I'd be very surprised to see Nukie investing into the Empress when he's just going to be bringing a pistol. The Neural Theft for Cold Dementor wouldn't make a huge difference anyway, so I would assume OXG have the advantage for actually winning this round.
But then again, Kellogg's has an operator. So, even Stevens, I'd
yes.
Say. Concealment.
There... Kellogg's exists.
Kellogg's is in this game. Vova isn't, though. Not anymore for this round, anyway. Playing Kellogg's towards the back of A. They're kind of stacking this one. They are investing in a call. The question is what info can be gathered towards B. The Spike's still seemingly hesitant to commit. No, XG are waiting for mistakes to happen. They've already found one in a Vova.
Very patient for now. I mean, I don't really blame you. If you're OXG, you don't want to kind of just wander into the path of anyone, notably Kellogg's.
There he is.
Yeah, like that.
30 seconds left.
All right, and Mixwell gets a second as well. Mites goes down, and Kellogg's looking to maybe shoot through the wall. No, not going to go for it just yet. Zistu does go low. Nuki around the side. And Unity goes for the challenge around the edge. Will find one. So does Zistu as well in the meantime against Cold Dementor. But Nuki's still hunting with the Sheriff. Zistu, position given away. 10 seconds under and counting. 7, 6. Has to go for the plant. Has to stick it as well. And in comes the player, but he pops up and gets the kill. Mixwell now with it all to do. No time really left, and that is going to be the round win for G2. Just needed to delay the plant. That's exactly what Mixwell was doing. Just running away. Knew that his teammate was going to have that one in hand.
Yeah, I mean, it was a nice final kill there for Zistu, but as you said, you know, you're really running out of time. There's only so much time that you have that you can actually plant within. So, you know, even that was not really an option for Zistu at the end. Again, it puts G2 in a nice position, and this is the sort of the worrying part as well, is because while I commented on that last round that OXG had a decent buy, that was the last round that was going to be an option for them. Really, I think. I mean, they're buying up a bit here, but I don't know. Let's see what it is they go for. They have a lot of ultimates, which is cool. I mean, in fact, have we seen Mites use the Cosmic Divide?
Now that you mention it, I'm not entirely sure we have. I think we might have seen it in a round in the first half, although I'm not entirely sure if he got enough kills to make that happen. So we'd have to double check. To see if that one came through. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really seen it certainly have an impact in any of the rounds so far. So we'll have to wait and see if that can be utilized effectively. Right? And you've got 11-7 on the board right now. It is now the time to use it effectively, right? You need to be investing these ults, as you say. It is the time to try and come alive here. So hopefully they're going to be able to find something. But G2 still formidable, strong. They have a map in hand. They're close to being able to take the second and moving forwards closer to getting their master spot in Berlin.
Yeah, I mean, just having obviously waiting to get back into the game, but I can still like kind of see what's going on, seeing what is they're picking up. I mean, it does look like OXG are going to be basically full buying, except on Toronto, who has his Blade Storms available. So, you know, he doesn't really need that. And that gives him the option to save a little bit of money. And then again, on the other side, just because the economy on the side of G2 is very healthy, they're totally fine to just do what they're doing. So, you know, this could be salvageable here for OXG. They could totally drag this one out. My only question is that while they could get this next round, can they be consistent in putting the next 4 rounds on the board?
Oxygen trying to take control of mid and towards B, dropping in that lockdown as well, but Kellogg's can move out of it, and they still have some control here. The flashes are good, but the cloud bursts to cover, and they're trying to move on through. Mixwell shuts one down as the Seekers come through as well. Traded off 1 for 1. Toronto tries to go over the snake bite, but that's a lot of damage. The Seekers moving forwards as well. Force Kellogg's to back off, and now in a 4 versus 3, potentially for the retake. They drop this Viper Pit coming through from... This is Oxygen's Viper Pit in the post-plant. Create a vision-obscuring wall here. To control a lot off the ground around the spike, and actually dropping it very close to the spike as well means those post-plant defuse is going to be very tricky if they can't take down the Viper. A nice hop up over the wall for Toronto, finds him one, and Avova goes down as well. Shots coming through from Nuki, but now it's all down to Kellogg's. Looks for more, but Toronto seals the deal with a swift knife to the brain. And 8 rounds up on the board now for Oxygen.
I mean, yeah, you know, this pattern continues on where they're actually not horrendously far behind G2. It's just about how many steps they can continue to creep forward before G2 hit the ceiling of the 13 rounds required. So while you can look at this and you can be like, oh, you know, 3 rounds, that's not huge. Like, OXG can catch up with that. Do they have the time to do that? Because eventually G2 will hit 12 rounds, most likely. It's probably not going to be in this next round, just given the fact that they're going to be running an eco here. But, you know, it could happen soon.
Scout destroyed.
I mean, cast your mind back to Icebox and how they won that. That was on a pistol. And granted, it was on the map that they are demonstrably stronger on. But maybe similar stories to be told here. Avova does go down early, though, so no luck there, and that leaves B site fairly open as Oxygen move through. Relatively unchallenged now that they've managed to take away the sole defender. Moving as a firing squad up the mid. The retake attempt coming through from G2. The flank is there and they need to be worried. It's just about to turn the corner and bring to bear some pain. Spots one. Cold Mentor's there, but Kellogg's ever vigilant, able to find it. Will be able to pick up a Vandal for his trouble. Another flank, though, potentially coming through. Mitez will be trying to swing, spots the shots, and they should know that. Oh dear, Tailwind out. Oh. Kellogg's, how on earth do you make that work? Coming in on the off angle, though, it's Mixwell as well. 2 versus 2, time ticking down. Mixwell flashes in, tries to bait out the shots, but goes down. In the meantime, though, Kellogg's moves forwards. Sheriff back in hands, but will not find any more as Glove closes it down. A lot of damage done to Oxygen's bank, but they pick up the round nonetheless.
Yeah, as you say, you know, cleaning that one up. Ooh, we get to see some score lines here for what's going on between SMB and FPX. Nice. It was 9-4 on their map 2. I don't know what their map 2 is. But, well, there you go.
Double check.
Yeah, so as you say, you know, some damage that... Oh, Ascent, we're being told.
Ah, okay.
Some damage done to OXG's... economy here? Oh, Split, not Ascent. I just
Split,
can't hear.
Yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah, 9-3 on Split. That's pretty interesting stuff going on there. That's pretty dominant scorelines over there. But over here, we're a little bit closer fought. As it is now the rifle round. G2 looking to put that 12th up. Only 2 rounds stand between them and winning this game and the match. Get to the upper bracket semis. Oxygen moving towards the B site. They haven't got the opening pick yet. And managed to find it. There's the Cosmic Divide. Sealing off the side of the site. Called a Mentor. Lets one through. Nuki, though, finds Sistu in the meantime. Fade away. And actually using the Cosmic Divide to play that advantage. Mixwell finds one, but goes down along with Nuki. Kellogg's soon to fall. And now it's just Avova with a long-range retake. Seeker dismounted.
Spike planted.
As the spike gets planted, 3 players stand. 4 Oxygen in this post plant. Looking to try and even things up. Moving through and potentially a decent spot here to be found. They know the angle that it come from, and that's excellent heads up drop there on the Viper wall. But the position's given away. Puts the Toxin back up, finds another. Now 1 versus 1 against Toronto. Avova needs to stand up big for G2. Wants to put that 12th on the board. Worried about the back of sight, but clears towards the mid. Doesn't know where his opponent's going to be, and Toronto gets the better end of the deal. 3 kills on the round, but it looked a little bit hairy. Nonetheless, 10 rounds, double digits for Oxygen.
Another big hit for Oxygen's economy, given how many weapons they lost, but a win is a win, and now they are just 1 round off of actually evening it up with G2. It was a nice example of, as well, of the Astra utility being used quite effectively, because of course, you know, I'm kind of in agreement with some of the things that were said on the desk about not necessarily being a huge Astra fan, particularly on this map right now. And actually, OXG play Astra pretty much on everything other than Icebox, and recently they've kind of removed her from Split too, but that's the first time that we've really seen the Astra make a huge difference for OXG in this game.
In they go, very fast, very loose. They will find Coldamenta early. Zistu continuing the frag fest for Oxygen. And they want to put the 11th on the board. Max Mixwell not quite able to land the shots, and actually a flank snuck past there for Nuki. Potentially unawares here. Oh, moved into the line of fire of the turret, and actually might have distracted the enemy just a little bit. Mixwell lands the shots. Mitez drops the ball there. Vandal in the hands of Mixwell now. Leads the charge around the corner. Double flash, and the spray down's good. Mixwell dismounts too, and everybody's got their backs turned. I don't know what just happened, but G2 finish it like it was nothing. That's Mixwell's round. A 4K on an eco. Thrifty found for G2 to put them at match point.
Hey, we were looking for Mixwell to be that last player of the team to have his moment, so they've all done it now. But one thing I really wanted to point out is just at least a couple of those kills. You saw the assists up in the kill feed. You know, you had the Viper assist, you had the Reyna assist as well, and we did see the Lear go out. And it's just such a wonderful visualization of the way that G2 are coordinating with each other. They're all working together. There's the snake bite behind. You're trapping these players of OXG in their position. You're flashing them out, and then you're engaging. And everything is like clockwork. G2 knew exactly what they were doing at every moment of that. Yes, Mixwell picks up the kills from it, and it's awesome, and we get our ace of G2 players who have these insane rounds. But that was really an effort that came from everybody.
I feel like there might have been a technical element there, though. I mean, it looks like Oxygen yet to move. So a little bit of an asterisk, yes, yet next to that pop-off round. A little bit, but the timeout coming in. And G2 now firmly in control here. Rifles can be bought on the side of Oxygen, but even so, it's a sparse buy that's going to come through. And we are just looking to elongate this technical timeout. I think one or two of the players from Oxygen looking to try and make sure that they are all set and all safe to make their way into this potentially final round. It's a crucial one to be set for, so you need to make sure that you are all prepared and have your best foot moving forwards. 12-10 though on the boards, and can G2 close it out here? I feel like they might just be on the verge of victory here.
Well, I mean, they mathematically are on the verge of victory, John.
That is true. That's how that works.
I mean, it is, you know, it's a horrible time to have a technical timeout as well, just because of how close this scoreline is and how much is riding on it, and knowing that OXG, they're just a couple of rounds away from being able to drag this over into overtime, which then, of course, would be its own roller coaster. And then you would have to consider what happens in the last round, the last map, sorry, after that. But, you know, G2 have obviously had quite the game. If you combine what's been happening here on Breeze with what happened on Icebox, and if you've only just tuned in and you missed Icebox, yeah, the chat can probably tell you what happened, but I would recommend you actually watch it. It was
I mean, if
really
you're 5
something.
minutes late, you probably did miss it, to be honest. It was over that quickly. Yeah, 13-2.
Yeah, you'd be
Nuts.
you'd be able to just, like, you know, watch it over your breakfast or whatever time of day it is where you are, and you'd be fine. It was not the best map for OXG. So this one has been a lot more of a tenacious fight between the two. But the fact that G2 have now found themselves on match point, it does mean that if OXG are to take this map, it has to be through the means of overtime, which in and of itself is quite tough.
We're going to have a continuing little bit of a technical issue ongoing, so we will have to elongate the technical timeout just a little bit. But G2 got to be feeling pretty good about themselves. I feel like Kelox has absolutely earned his stripes on this one. Absolutely a credit to G2 right now. One of the best Jets in the region, potentially. I mean, it's been said. Still needs to prove himself against the rest of them, though. And the rest of the bracket might be the best way to do it. I think that, you know, this guy has had insane pop-off rounds, right? And it is just better aim, right? Like, the reason he's winning them is that he is better at shooting his gun. His point-and-click adventures are on point right now. But it is really, really brutal when you're playing so high, when you're so up there in terms of that skill level, right? To be able to keep that one going, that could be a tall order. We'll see if Kelox is able to maintain it moving forwards as well, because you've got not only to think about this game, but the game's to come.
Yeah. We do have our reason for the technical timeout, just to let everybody know. All of the Turkish players are just having a bit of an internet problem. I think it's a Turkish thing, because it's not just in this game, it's other Turkish players we have on the other stream as well right now. So I guess we just gotta wait on the country of Turkey. But we will of course keep you guys updated as to what's going on with that. Just hoping to get their internet back and working. But yeah, I mean, just to add on to your point, John, you're talking about keloqz, he's just better. There is that, but there is also the fact that he has just been totally unimpeded with the space that he wants to take. And this is something that I spoke about a little bit at the start, but if you go all the way back to the finals from Stage 3 Challenger 1, where G2 were playing against Ascend, and G2 lost that series, if I remember correctly, a lot of the problem that G2 had was the fact that Ascend just oppressed the hell out of keloqz. And it was a huge, huge issue for them. You go and watch that series and you don't see this keloqz. You see a keloqz who virtually doesn't exist. So you can kind of compare those, even though it's just one game, one series, compare that directly to this, and you can see that is the problem. That's the difference. Because at what point in this game have we seen keloqz make really an attempt to take some space somewhere and position himself somewhere and be denied that? Maybe around here and there, but as a systemic thing, no, it just hasn't been there.
And I mean, potentially due to something that we talked about at the start of the game, this Astra pick, right? Like, if you don't have that Cypher, you can't be controlling as much towards the middle, towards the tube. You can't have that sort of presence that you generally feel on the flank and that Cold Mental was able to have as well in these positions. And you pair that with the Killjoy, who's fairly stationary in her setup as well, and it's pretty difficult to control a lot of these positions, right? You're kind of locked into playing these angles. Really, the only person who can challenge that is Toronto, and if you're losing those duels, how are you going to come back into it, right? Like, you're looking for just to win out an aim duel, but you're looking to win out an aim duel against keloqz, right? And that is time tested and proven that that's normally just not going to happen, because everybody else is pretty much indentured on site. I mean, you've got Viper on Unity for Oxygen, kind of forced to stay on B, and you've got Killjoy, who's kind of forced to stay on A. Astra potentially able to roam a little bit, but you're investing that Killjoy over to A as well as that Astra, and it just feels like they are opening up, as you say, a little bit towards the majority of that map and allowing this space for keloqz to try and move on through. What do you change here? I feel like, that Cosmic Divide played as well for the defense as it did for the offense for Oxygen. So maybe not even that is going to have that much of an impact that maybe you would have liked it to.
I mean, for me, like, I personally wouldn't have chosen Astra. And as I said, I know that OXG really like her. And as I said, Icebox is the only map that they don't ever really bring an Astra. And it's only recently that they've started foregoing Astra on Split as well. Other than that, pretty much always bring an Astra. For me personally, as well, I'm not a huge fan of bringing Killjoy, but that's the agent that I would have switched out for the Cypher, not the Astra necessarily, because you don't need a Cypher and a Killjoy. In my opinion, I actually think that they could have done with having a Sova maybe instead of Astra. Now, Sova obviously is a completely different agent, doesn't cut off any parts of the sites in the same way that Astra does. You're not, holding anybody back directly. But the information that you gain can be really useful. And that's why we see a lot of teams, especially here in EU, choose to bring the Sova. It was a conversation that actually we had back in the first game of the day. And it was something that Lothar mentioned on the desk, is that while the recon darts can have their flaws on Breeze just because of the size of the map and the area of effect of the recon darts, it's the Owl drone that can provide so much value. And for me, I'm a really big fan of any composition that's going to allow you to gain information that you can act off of. It's all well and good to be able to cut off certain lines of sight and cut off certain parts of the map, but if you still have no idea what is going on anywhere, you can't necessarily use that at its most effective. So I would have switched out the Killjoy for the Cypher, because I agree, I think the Cypher would have been a better option. Astra is fine. Like, I'm not really that mad about the fact that the Astra is here. Personally, I would have chosen Sova, but it's definitely more the Killjoy Cypher kind of equivalency that I think is quite prevalent here.
Yeah, it just seems like Oxygen, I mean, fair enough. They've had a really decent shout on this composition, but maybe just a little bit short of the mark. And you have to wonder, was this their specialty, right? Was this the thing that they had been brewing up to try and take down G2 in this particular matchup? I mean, it feels like it is fairly targeted. It is fairly, I guess, like it feels intentional, right? It feels like there is a purpose to it. And it seems like, you know, fair enough, Zistu's been fragging out his mind on this Killjoy, but is it only those frags that are really tiding them over? Is it only their gunplay when they've been able to get down the raid bosses on G2? If, you know, they've been able to find those picks, is that the only time they've been able to go for it? We're going to go to a short break whilst we get this technical pause sorted, whilst we get everything fixed on up. It's 12-10 right now. G2 on the precipice of winning the match. So when we come back, we'll have the final, potentially, round of this match and potentially of today's proceedings. Don't go anywhere.
Shot to death last night. Now you're lying in my bed. Must have been a dream last night, but I can hear what you're saying. You were shot to death last night. Where's my cup of coffee? I was dreaming something bad last night. Can't you hear what I'm saying? One gunshot, and I forgot to look at you, to look at you. To look at you, to look at you. 2 gunshots, and my thoughts. We're not with you, we're not with you. We're not with you, we're not with you. You were shot to death last night, and I thought
Oh, hi, this is unexpected, isn't it? I'm happy that we get to check on in with you all, though. If you have been watching, this is Oxygen taking on G2. And right now, the G2 squad up in the lead over on Breeze. But this is a lot closer than what we had earlier on Icebox, right?
I mean, absolutely. What are we talking about here? You know, the beginning rounds have been looking quite decent. You obviously have Arnold Schwarzenegger played here in case nobody else than Kellogg. Seems like he's taken that role for the future movies. Coming in with absolute mad frags over the course of this game. But
he's in a chopper.
Again?
He's in a chopper.
He's in the chopper. And I mean, he's probably having, I don't know, some kill streak going on for himself at that point in time. But things have slowed down massively.
I mean, for a moment, it was like the scene from The Predator when they were just shooting in the jungle.
Yeah. Odin's out, you know. Mad. Yeah. Predator popping the Yoru ult, basically, going invisible and running away. Any excuse to talk about Yoru, Zesht, and I will find it. That is how this works, and you know that better than most. Something I am happy about here is that we're having a bit more of a showing out of guys like Avova, right? He was kind of hilarious back on Icebox in that he never really saw anyone, like not really through any of his own doing, right? Like the game was so dominant, he never really needed to step up and fill the void. He's kind of become like a very crucial third part of the kind of trifecta, right? This dangerous triangle on G2.
Well, he has a pivotal role on this map because he's playing the Viper. Also, that 4K that he had on the A-hold was absolutely massive to swing the momentum in favor of G2. That was one of the rounds which also made basically the economy, well, literally make or break it. So huge amount of pressure on Avova to perform on this map, especially after the first one, which was like 13-2, but he personally didn't do much, right? Because he didn't have the option to. But I have to say, I really like the way that he played on attack. We have seen a lot of setups that were, well, let's say meta game choices, but they do have a lot of impact. On an example, on A side, he goes with a straight wall that also doesn't really cut off like the side in half, but he puts his Toxic Orb on the bridge, which cuts off and obscures the vision a lot, but then in the post plant, it does the same again, but also counts as a one-way underneath the bridge. Then we have seen him also make the lineup for Nest, which is so wide in area that is when it's being covered by the Toxic Orb deep enough in the nest, it allows them to play through mid both on B and A, which we have seen a lot, especially with Mixel conditioning the opponents with his Tiger at the beginning of the round, which was very controlling towards elbow area. So in all, I feel like G2 has a lot of in their strat book when it comes to executions and attack on this map.
Yeah, and I think that's almost kind of making it more impressive that this game has ended up feeling as close as it is, right? Like the fact that we're getting a very, very good showing out of Oxygen versus a G2 that, as you say, look like they've got a lot of ideas that we're having, you know, this kind of trifecta showing up. A question I do have, right, is obviously in this one, Mixwell has been a little more quiet. So, you know, we kind of have like 3 players doing the bulk of the lifting right now for G2. Who could be that 4th guy to hop online and get activated just to help get this over the line, do you think, Zesht?
I think, first of all, what you gotta say, Mixwell has recently started playing Sky, right? And I mean, the guy is versatile. The guy's a genius. He has so much experience in Valorant, one of the most experience in Europe. At the same time, you have to get used to an agent in a competitive setting. And obviously, when you're coming from a more duelist kind of approach and you swap over to the support players, I mean, he himself said he's fully fine with it. He doesn't need to be the hero. He doesn't need to be the rising star. He's old enough to have this experience to more support the team, which then leads to a victory there.
Yeah, but the thing is, now with Sky, after the changes, I feel like Sky is actually pivotal when it comes to the aggression.
Yes, at the same time, there are still players who play him in a more supportive manner. And you know, Arch, for example, is one of those guys. Yeah. I mean, it's rare, it's an IGL, not necessarily the same kind of effect. Yeah. But at the same time, there are players who tend to still use Sky in, well, pre-patch 3.0, right? In a more supportive manner. And maybe this is the case here because there's more than enough fragging power with 2 duelists that you don't need a 3rd one in that sense.
See, I actually quite like the conversation that you two were having, though, about like the kind of different ways that we see Sky still getting used, right? And obviously you actually spoke to Arch and co, right? And he did say that, like, yeah, we still play her as like a supportive element. I think that's pretty interesting. Lothar, do you think like eventually we're going to hit a point where duelist Sky very much is the way to lean into her? Because that's feeling like how the meta is shaping up.
Well, when you think about like a more aggressive Sky right now, you have in your mind Solkas and Starkso essentially, right? Those 2 guys are spearheading this type of playstyle, which is something they tried to do previously with the State of Sky, but the change to her animation. If someone just tuned into Valorant and he doesn't know how the patch worked in the past, Sky had like this hand signal when she was popping the flash. So you had your gun out, you pop the flash, so you hide the gun. some people get flashed, and then you have your gun equip time being fully in effect. Right now, she doesn't have the gesture, so you have your gun all the time out. And because of that, players like Solkas and Starkso benefited a lot from that playstyle because they can play off Viper so well with the pop flash or from the smoke, from the wall, from whatever, and they just instantly just be ready to shoot. And we have seen Maxwell also try that with mixed results. I'm a dad. I'm allowed to do that.
Yeah.
Actually true.
It's really cool to see him mix those play styles because we have seen really well play on Killjoy on this map, actually, if you remember correctly the previous matches. But it's still it takes a lot of time to be confident, to be on Sky and have that kind of play style.
I mean, while I'm kind of hearing your opinions, Lothar, do you think overall, the change to Sky is a net positive? Do you prefer the way that she's implemented now? I definitely prefer it too. So I just want to make sure that we're on this.
It's super insanely valuable as an agent. She's in my book. She is right below Jet when it comes to valuable asset for a team, and it's Jet, and then we have Sova, Sky, and Viper. At least that's for me. That's the tier list,
Yeah, and I especially think that's made even stronger by how well those three kind of synergize together in different ways, right? Lothar, I love it. We always get a little theater show with you. I love the demonstration of the animation on Sky. But speaking of shows, Zesht, I understand you've got a round you want to look at here.
Yes, because I really much enjoyed this very expensive yet very successful execution here from Oxygen. And there was one little detail that I loved the most. Unfortunately, we missed it, but you saw the Gravity Well putting Kellogg's away. This was the wooden doors where he somehow gained control. We don't really need to discuss how good he is, right? How individually he can really hinder Oxygen from doing much. But what have they done? They already split up A with the wall, a clear indicator that you either commit there or not. And G2 doesn't have information. They don't gain anything in front of A. They have no knowledge what's happening around there. They also seem to smoke that off. And at that point in time, it is crucial to see that they're already getting in front of B. And now the Cosmic Divide's coming in. There's a double smoke, so actually you see Toronto jetting through, getting the dash also overhead, and the entire chaos is descending on the side. Nuki has to capitalize on his plays left and right with that Cosmic Divide, but can't do much. It was all swiftly done as a unit, and this is what you can do sometimes, because a Cosmic Divide is obviously just narrowing all down, very obviously, and then also the usability of a Sky Flash is amazing, because you have a lot smaller room where a Sky Flash can work it pretty much on his own. Avova has not much to do here, pretty much chanceless at that point in time, as though he's having still a valuable effort towards the end of the round. But these are the tiny things where some people were always like, yeah, Turkey is super fast, Turkey is super swift, so on and so on. But at the end of the day, they're still a great tactical composure to teams, and they have grown ever since.
Yeah, and I love that they're able to deal with Nuki. I always get nervous whenever you see the divide come down and then you have a Reyna playing around it, right? That Reyna with her dismiss is able to make those kind of situations snowball. They get past Nuki though, mate, and the whole site just crumbles down. No, I am really liking what we're getting out of Oxygen here, and I think we all are, right? I think that's why it feels like it's a bit of a shame as to how this is grinded to a halt, right? Obviously, there are still some ongoing internet issues with the Oxygen guys. Not really much that can be done there, but it's all getting investigated, it's all getting looked at, and it should be sorted. This is still a very close game, and it's still anyone's for the taking. Could you guys try to entice me as to how this goes to a third map? We're so close. Not much has to go right for Oxygen, so what would it be? Zesht, you can go first. I see you thinking. I see you cooking up a storm.
Let's be honest, if this is getting re-rolled where there's not the match point for G2, it's a coin toss.
I mean, the retake was insane.
Yeah, the retake. Man, oh man, four stationary targets.
What a game. Yeah, dude, I reckon. Yeah, that was one of the better rounds I think we've seen so far, right?
On a serious note, it's a coin toss. At that point in time, it's a coin toss because you saw that there's a de-acceleration of G2. Obviously, this is also coming down to the matter of fact that they have swapped sides. But at the end of the day, I genuinely believe we could go to a third map. If this is really coming back to not being a match point for the guys of G2, we are getting in dangerous territory for them.
What I really like to see from, not to see, but what I have seen in the past and on this map from Oxygen is the synergy, what was being made by the combination of the Astra, Viper, and the Jet mostly, The fact is that they do something that I didn't value as much on Breeze as I do value on Bind, Ascent, and an example on Split, if there's someone playing Jet. The value of the dash on side to create pressure is way bigger when the side is narrow. Breeze is a very open map, so that dash doesn't have that much value. But they actually found a way that is another meta choice for the aggressive players to jump up on the pillar on the B side, and they do condition G2 with that play. Even when they don't dash, I mean, if the Jet doesn't dash on the pillar on that side, she still tries to fake it. And it's a big pressure play against G2 when they are also being, let's say, pushed away with the gravity wells, with the stuns, then the Sky comes in. There's abundance of utility being used on Oxygen right now.
So all three of us are in agreement that if that last round were to not count, this is still very much up in the air and it's still anyone's game. Well then, that makes the news I've just received that much more enticing. Tournament officials, they investigated this. They said that because both Turkish servers went down in tandem, that round won't count and will be replayed. So that means that this is still anyone's game. G2 aren't as safe as we were thinking, and now OXG, they've got a chance to turn this into an OMG, man. We're all going to be sat back. So yeah, get a fresh breath of air, get some oxygen in. Can they pull it back? Find out in a moment.
I'm wheezing here.
You know I be on some fly shit. Hero in the nighttime, I just need my sidekick. Sexy in that leather with the tight fit. Try to get between us, I'ma start a riot. Look how she roll it up. There ain't no room in this two-seater, you can't roll with her. It's getting hot up in the city, but don't keep it tucked. I put that tennis on your neck, make sure you cold enough.
Hello and welcome back. We are going to get back into things. As you heard before the break, we are going to reset the last round played. We are going back in at 11-10, G2 with the round advantage. Now, that last round was pretty crucial there to bring them up to match point and take them potentially over the line. Gio, we're going to get right into things as I know everybody's been waiting at home.
Yeah, we were making our jokes about how, you know, Mixwell was the one player that we've been waiting for on G2 to have his, like, pop-off moment. Unfortunately, it doesn't really count when everybody on the other team have disconnected. So we're going to have to rescind that one from him. But yes, it's going to give OXG a bit more of a fair opportunity to take that round now because, of course, those kinds of things are really out of the hands of any of these players. But that means it's still just as tight a game here on Breeze. I mean, it's been a constant back and forth, really, between these two teams. Icebox, an entirely different story. OXG are looking to take this map and, of course, the next one to push themselves forward in the upper bracket. And this is maybe going to give them a little bit more of a new lease of life because they're now not contending directly, in this round at least, with match point.
Yeah, it's going to be all to play for yet again. They spoke on the desk about how it is really going to go down to the wire. And if they can get into that third game, are they even going to be able to, you know, come back from that and that heavy hit that they're going to take on the hit? I've just received word that we are still having 1 or 2 issues, so we want to make sure that everything is ironed out, because the last thing we want is to have to go through all this again. So we'll try and get that all sorted as soon as possible and get into the game when we can. We want to make sure that it's fair for everyone involved in the playing field. 11-10, though, still very, very close, and not the story that we would have been telling on Icebox in a 13-2 to G2.
Yeah, it's definitely been a very different map, but of course you would kind of naturally expect that to some extent because this is the map that OXG picked, and we had some concerns about that just given the fact that this team has only really played it once. They played it against Vodafone Giants yesterday. They had a pretty good time on it, but it seemed to be a particularly different story for them yesterday, given just the way that the game played out. I suppose Vodafone Giants were really not quite as consuming and constricting as G2 have been, and they gave a lot more space, which OXG were free to take, and that's something that OXG have been battling against quite a bit versus G2 in this game. We got to hear the analyst desk talk a little bit about the way that they've been using some of their utility and some of that Astra utility that's come out, and John, you and I were discussing just before the break how we felt this Astra was playing out for OXG, because we know that they're a really big fan of her, and Mites really likes playing on that agent, and we got to see around just a couple of rounds prior to the disconnect where finally we saw the Cosmic Divide be used, and actually brought quite a lot of value over to OXG. So it's definitely an interesting one, just given the fact that there aren't really a ton of teams who are going to be playing here in the EMEA playoffs who would choose to bring an Astra on Breeze. But yeah, it's been an interesting one to see how it's going for OXG. And I guess while we wait for them to get back into the game, or, you know, being able to walk around inside the game, you know, I suppose they'll be cooking up some ideas for the coming rounds.
Yeah, I should hope they are. Or probably more likely they're worried about just getting into the game, as you say. So we are going to be, I think that the issues are going to be a little bit more persistent than we were expecting, which means that we are going to be going back to our analyst desk to talk about the game a little bit more. Harry, boys, what do you got?
Cheers. Yeah, no, this is a little more of a delay than perhaps we would have liked, but it gives us some time to really break this one down, to get to know each other, get to know you folks at home as well. First of all, Lothar, me and you were having a little chat earlier. When it comes to the team comp here that we're getting out of Oxygen, right? This Astra Viper combo, right? You gave me a very, very good lesson as to why that's so impactful and what kind of opportunities that opens up. Could you explain that a little bit for the folks watching along at home?
Sure, that was actually a very good example of what Sesh explained at the previous of the round breakdown, because Astra has this, typically you don't really value the Astra's ultimate so much because it doesn't really bring that much value in the smaller maps, right? But on a big map like Breeze. You basically use it as a secondary Viper wall, but it's a little bit stronger than the Viper wall because it doesn't let your opponent to just shoot through it, right? And of course, obviously, you cannot shoot through it as well because it creates a massive barrier that is impenetrable. But it also muffles sounds. So this is something that we don't typically see from teams, and we still don't see them fully utilize the aspect of the sound because it's not that, let's say, well researched, because there's a small there's a small range of the sound being muffled completely, or yet still a little bit heard. So you can still hear the plant if it was made next to the wall, but not if it was like more than, I think, 6 meters. So in general, there's a lot of stuff that you can create with the Astro Wall in tandem with the other abilities that you have. An example here, Sky, because we know it's such a good synergy for Viper. It basically creates the same synergy with the Astra's Cosmic Divide, right? So if you can flash your opponents and they also cannot hear what is happening behind the wall, that creates a perfect ambush, right? Especially since you can also create a lot of pressure on the backside, B-side here on Breeze, right? You execute an attack, you do the Cosmic Divide, you use your excess abilities like the Snake Bite, the gravity well, and the stun from Astra to clear backside. You get control of that, and your opponents are completely in the blind because they don't hear if you took the control of both pillars or not. And you can be way faster on that execution as well, because your opponents will not hear any footsteps or any abilities being used on the backside. It creates a lot of chaos for the opponents to even play as a retake because they have no clue what's going on. This is why Sova is so important on this map as well.
Yeah, I'm kind of curious, right? Like, because you kind of say about like the wall feeling like maybe there's more that could be discovered there in the sense of like, you know, removing sound, removing vision. Do you think there's still like a kind of a layer of gameplay that could be found around that ultimate that maybe hasn't fully been chimed into yet?
When Astro was released, I actually had a small segment on my stream when I explained how we can okay, this is gonna get clipped. How you can body block through the Astro Wall. Essentially, what you try to achieve is you put the Astro Wall in such a space when you have only a small, like, inch of the site still available, you plant in that inch while the wall is cutting off a clean angle. So essentially, this is the Cosmic Divide here. You know, this is the Cosmic Divide. This plexiglass.
I can't hear him,
right?
Yeah. We can't hear him because
Ash doesn't hear anything, just a muffled sound, you know? So if you stand next to the Cosmic Divide like this, and your opponent... Oh, come, Sesh.
And
he's my opponent, you know?
Yeah.
I'm planting here the spike, right? And he cannot push through the Cosmic Divide because I'm body blocking him because of the Cosmic Divide.
Yeah.
So if your teammate is holding your angle, then basically the plant can be only stopped if someone steps through in front of you, and that's your teammate's angle. So there's a lot of stuff you can still do with it, but not a single team is doing it yet.
It's very, very cool. And also, you know, big round of applause to Zesht for standing in on such short notice. Zesht, were you nervous just then? Your acting debut? No, he was nothing but nice. He was nothing but nice to you, man.
Oh, great.
Was that a nerve-wracking experience for you just then?
You know, you need to see, I usually am the stunt double for Tom Holland.
Yeah.
So at the end of the day, right, it's like nothing too unusual for me. It's another day in the office where I just come in, I don't know, jump from buildings or some stuff like that. Yeah, so it's been a great experience so far. What piece is next? Which movie are we doing?
No. So we're gonna stay away from movies. I think instead we can look over at the other matchup that's been going on alongside this one. Right, we spoke about it a little bit earlier on. SMB versus FPX. A lot of eyes on this game, right? I think thus far, it's following kind of a similar-ish pattern to this one, but it's been closer. I wasn't actually able to check how the game was going because I think they're running into the same issue we are, right? So yeah. But kind of run with me down this thought for a bit. Do you think we could end up with a situation tonight where we have like a real Turkish victory through and through?
Yes, I actually do believe so. I'm going to there are multiple reasons for that. Remember how actually Oxygen played against Vodafone Giants. Once in a while, to say it in the most British way possible, they played quite donkey. They also lost the map 13-2, all right? And that was happening in between. On the other ones, they were looking quite convincing. They were looking actually decent. Giants waffled at one point. And then we also have to see it this way. Supermassive Blaze has been this hand-picked team by Pora, where every single piece on the chessboard has been picked with such high intelligence, and every single one have perfect. Sure, the team is young, but at the same time, there's a lot of staff behind it. They really tried to build this team to be this super massive team for a very good reason. And I'm very amazed to see what they can do, because remember, Fireflux, they make those guys sweat from FPX on Ascent. And I imagine, and if I talked to Sella as well, the coach of Fireflux, after those nerfs were absolutely wrecked after Ascent, the second map was just in the bin, right? Yeah. Because they couldn't handle it. There were young guys. I can understand that, but Massive Blaze might be a massive differently caliber.
Yeah, and so, you know, running with that like train of thought, right? If this series right here were to go to the third map of Haven, Lothar, are you thinking that there's a chance? You know, is there a bit more hope for Oxygen there? Because we get to like a middle ground between these two teams, right?
Well, when it comes to that's the thing, like. Again, we're running in the same issue, like we're running in Breeze here. We don't really have a lot of data for Oxygen on Haven,
right. While
Haven for G2 is one of the maps that I played actually very often. And we can be still surprised, the same way we had been surprised by Breeze from G2, where Mix was suddenly on Sky, right? Sky is a great choice for Haven as well, but at the same time, there's a lot of space to be creative. Like, honestly, Haven is one of the maps that I dislike the most, but it's one of the best maps for competitive tournaments because it's such a complicated map. Because it's the only map of, obviously, with 3 sides,
right.
But the importance of map control on it is just, let's say, it's not over-exaggerated. It's just exaggerated to the point where it's the main goal of the play.
Right.
Like if you make a hole in the defense by destroying one player, right? The entirety of the map has to be played as a retake essentially. Otherwise, you're going for very high risk, low reward scenarios for the defenders. So, as a Turkish team, I feel like they play well on Haven on attack, because they are so explosive, especially here. We see the Jet just playing so well. But the thing is, on Haven, on defense, I feel like European teams have a better hold on it, you know?
Yeah. So it's more so like as we swap over, as we get into like I was going to say second half. We don't know where they'd be starting, but you know what I mean, right? As we get onto that defensive side, that's going to be like the make or break, it feels like. And I'm inclined to agree with you about Haven. I just want to throw that out there. You know, I think whenever you're playing Pugs, whenever you're just queuing up at home, man, people love peeking on that map, and you know who you are. Don't do it, right? So, right. So, tournament officials, they had a little look into this one. They are going to be changing the server. That means we're going to go for a chrono break here. We're going to head into a little break, and then we'll be back with this map. Potentially a whole other map still to come after the fact. So stick around. Don't go anywhere. G2 versus Oxygen in just a minute.
The money in the bank. Hit you with the bank. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the 808. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang to the break. Bang, bang. money in the bank. Money in the bank. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the. Hit you with the bank. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Hit you with the. Hit you with the 808. Wanna get it crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a get it crunk with a couple hundred thugs. Crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a get it crunk with a couple hundred thugs. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round here. Everybody round, everybody round here. Know we getting hype. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round here. Know we getting hype.
We wanna get it crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a get it crunk with a couple hundred thugs. Crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, crunk in the club, with a get it crunk with a couple hundred thugs. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round here. Everybody round, everybody round here. Know we getting hype. Everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round, everybody round here. Know we getting hype.
Well, suddenly, positions have been changed. I'm the new host, and well, I'm not a host of the game, to be honest. I'm the host of the game show. If some of you good old Valorant nerds know, when there's a break, I'm absolutely flourishing. And this means they got two smart people on my left-hand side that probably know a good bunch. I'm quite convinced there is no Viper lineup Lofar doesn't know. At the same time, I'm convinced Lofar is not that good with trivia and also the lore. I'm not quite sure. Are you actually good with trivia and lore?
Which game are we talking about? Valorant?
TFT.
I feel kind of confident now, yeah. You know, I think I'm going to crush Lothar. I'm just going to, you know, merciless from
You know why? Because I think you're the more creative one. No offense, Lothar. You are absolutely...
Good thing we have this.
Yeah, man. I would be getting, I'd be getting attacked right
Absolutely.
now.
And if you're wondering what this is all about, this is obviously a little trivia quiz. For you guys out there, you could also logically post those little questions, or more likely the answers, in the chat. And those are purely based on the lore, which at the end of the day means that none of those answers actually are definite, but at least they are sort of definite because it's lore. We can also all make up our own lore. But either way, we have to start with our newest agent, and this man is obviously called KO, because KO has a good old battle buddy.
Do we like slap the desk when we want to answer, or how do we do this?
How
I didn't think this through. You're actually right, I didn't think this through.
Should we both come up with like a, so you can tap the desk, that can be your thing.
We can write the answer on this.
You can raise the cards.
I don't know if we need to be card raising. You know why? I'll just make a guttural noise that sounds like a buzzer. I'll go if I want to answer, and Lothar can do something similar, and I think it'll work quite nicely. See, it's so smooth. This is going so well. Zesh, you're losing control of your game show. Come on.
All right, the question was about KO.
Yeah. Give me a KO question.
I feel a bit like kindergarten. I'm just letting this happen here. Anyway, KO obviously has an actual battle buddy, somebody who has battled with before.
Does that work?
Yeah.
Was it too similar to him?
No, that works. I know who did it.
Yeah, it was a test. He was just testing.
You should. Otherwise, I would.
Yeah. I was like freaking out like that was me.
Who is it?
So, KO has a gun buddy which is called memory chip. It has also a Easter egg because it opens up in the game.
Yeah.
It's connected to Brimstone.
I'm already a miss. Go on.
It's connected with Brimstone, so when Brimstone has the gun buddy on his classic, when it's being used with the classic from KO, it's being opened up. Actually, what was the question?
Yeah, so this is kids. This is the reason, kids, why you should always listen to your teacher and not raise your hand before. But you were on the right track. Who is the not gun buddy, but battle buddy? You know, the one he was fighting alongside with. So you're saying Brimstone?
Yeah, of course. That's
absolutely right. Absolutely right. It's actually shown in the trailer. You could have made it way easier. But I mean, your entire theory is obviously showing us that Lothar knows a lot once more. That's a good one, Harry. You're lacking a little bit.
Yeah. I mean, you know, it's the first question. Someone had to get it right. Someone now feels a little. Yeah, they actually keeping score. Look. They got
points.
Nice. Very official.
Is this actually? Can we also do this in the future? Who's having good points on the desk itself? Because I feel then Lothar would accelerate.
That might be a nice way of like improving productivity, right? And like whoever gets the most at the end of the day, you know, gets like a cash prize.
And the other one is getting removed from the desk. That would actually be a good cycle. King of the hill, sort of. But anyway, the interesting part is obviously, it seems maybe easy, but you should think about this a little bit more. There's an agent that has something very specific on his clothing. He has an antenna to locate enemies. Which agent could that be? An antenna. Thing you usually can sometimes, you know, start listening radio to.
Zooming in on me, like I might know the answer. Hang on, I got to think about this. An antenna. The thing that's like woo.
It's like woo.
Yeah, you know, like you woo. You know, like you pull it out like on a car.
Yeah.
Like back in the day.
I've never done it with a woo sound, but
sit on the body.
Say again?
You said that he has an antenna on his body?
No, on his clothing.
His clothing.
Difference.
Is this a trick?
Okay, come on. I mean, no. Guys.
KO again?
Oh, Jesus Christ. No, it is not KO. The answer previously was Brimstone, by the way. But nevertheless, think about it this way. Just rule out. What could it be? Let's go with a logical process here.
Yeah. I'm going through it. I'm thinking.
Wait. So, Sova has a drone that is connected to his, like, thingy.
So, okay, I know we're not meant to work together, but like I was
Let's
originally
work together.
thinking Sova, and I don't think he has the antenna. You know, from what I'm aware, he's got like the owl drone all on his arm.
Maybe it's hidden somewhere. The
Is it
antenna.
Sova?
Come on, guys, don't be stupid now.
No,
I mean, listen.
Yes, you've done too good a job, bro.
I don't want to stop you because if you are thinking logically about it, I'm 100% convinced you can make it. 100%.
All right, well,
Think about
let's
it.
rule out Reyna. Let's rule out Jet. Let's rule out Phoenix. Let's rule out.
Guys, how many information agents are there in this game? Besides baiting Jet players.
It's KO, Sova, Killjoy to some degree.
Is it Sky?
Cypher. Cypher needs an antenna, right?
Absolutely right.
There we go.
Because think about it for a second. Think
This
about
counts
it.
like a half a point, you know?
Yeah, that's half a point,
Half
but
a
think
point.
about it. What does he do during neural theft?
Well, he throws the. Oh, so he has an antenna on his
dude,
hat.
for the hat. Okay, it all makes sense now.
Guys,
Yeah, that was
still
actually pretty
can't-
challenging.
Can we get like a Cypher picture somewhere here to see like his hat or something? That would be fantastic.
but nevertheless, you know,
There's no antenna there.
Lofar is rocking this. Lofar is rocking
Yeah,
this.
it's not looking good.
And
for
it
me.
was very well ruled out here. At the end of the day, they're still about, you know, fighting and so on and so on. And there's a specific agent who, in his previous life, was a mercenary and was actually hired by Viper. Who could that guy be?
So I know that Reyna and Viper have a history. I know that she was likely involved in this. Would it be hang on, I'm thinking about this. Would it be Yoru? Would it be my boy?
Why? Okay,
Chief,
why?
my boy?
Why?
I know he just seems like a badass. That's why I like him, and I think like mercenary, badass, you know, could be the case.
So you're sticking with that?
Hold on, are you only saying it because you want to put Yoru in here somewhere?
I'm not gonna say yes or no to that question. No comment.
Understandably.
No comment.
All right, so I'm thinking that it's gonna be Omen, Red.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, the man knows. You paid attention.
So, because there's a voice line about atrocities that they did in the past.
That would make sense, actually, right? And
Absolutely.
it ties into
it
the whole
absolutely
Reyna
makes
story.
sense,
Oh, no.
but it's horribly wrong.
Wait, really?
no,
Who is it?
it's-
Is it Breach?
Yes, because... Why do you say Breach now?
Okay. I lent to Yoru because I love Yoru, right? You know I love this guy, this blue dude. I love Yoru. But
It's like a
a part of me was really like, well, Breach looks like he's a bit of a mercenary, right? Like he's got the whole like kind of like jacket, you know, he's a bit like battle scarred as far as they go. So do I get a point for that? I did still say it before you
get
gave
a
the
half.
answer. Half a point?
I mean,
I'll take half a point.
production is at this point saying, come on, Harry. So, like, they're even
Dude,
disappointed in you.
come on!
Harry, you're really not making friends with the Valorant community. And interestingly enough, it is actually him saying, and I have to quote that, "Damn, Jet, have you ever considered a life of crime? I have contacts." So this is the kind of hint that he actually knows about that. I love that. I love that. Well, the most interesting part, though, we have a lot of agents in Valorant. They all have different names. But one specific agent is actually named by a capital. Right? By a capital city of, you know. So, who could that be?
Oh my.
And I have to say, the name of this agent seems to be absolutely the reason why she is named that way. So it's really clear. A lot of people say, okay, that's obviously the reason why she's named that way, but it's not right.
Is it? Is it?
Forgot about the puzzle thing.
Go on, tell me. What do you think? Who do you think it is? Who do you think it is?
That scared the hell out of me, Lothar.
That was the point. Intimidation is my.
Yeah, intimidation.
So this is a shot in the dark, like I am in a paranoia right now. Is it Raze and is it Rio?
Okay, I give you that. I give you that. But what is the capital of Brazil?
Scratch that. Don't clip this. Quiet.
A lot of North Americans may be like, what is it? Is it? I don't know. But at the same time, no throw anyone in a bus. Don't get that wrong. It is someone else. Remember, the name of the agent seems to be super obvious why she or he is called that way. So let's go. Do you find it obvious that Brimstone is called Brimstone?
Yeah.
Oh wait, so it's actually in the game. It's not the you and me. It's
Okay, hold on. So there's an agent.
hang on,
An
that's-
agent has a name.
Yeah.
And an agent's name is inspired.
So it's not the name that is hidden behind the nickname. It's the actual
The actual name when you select character.
Ah, okay, that changes a lot. Because I thought it's the actual name, like birth name. You know?
Okay.
Like in their Valorant ID, in the you know. Okay.
Hang on, then I'm going through.
Come on, I mean, which agent has such an obvious name that would totally fit to what the agent can do? Oh, Jesus Christ.
Hang on, dude. I'm going through 'em. I'm figuring this out. I'm gonna get it. This is my 1.5 points. It's happening.
Okay.
Right now.
Last chance. I'll give you 3 more seconds.
Right now, the cogs in
3,
here
2,
are slowly
1.
coming alive.
Who is it?
I'm gonna go with Reyna.
Reyna. Lothar. Who is it?
Phoenix.
Right. Phoenix is a British agent. And what is the capital of Britain?
Phoenix.
Not Rio de Janeiro.
Phoenix is the capital of the UK, as we all know.
Yeah, you're
right?
British. You
So-
must know. Point for Harry. No.
From his country, right?
So it is Astra. It is, yes, because everybody thinks Astra, stars, astral form, yada yada. The name of the capital of Ghana is Accra. And that's why she's called Astra. I know it's super confusing. I know it's super weird. Lothar is not having
I want to
any
contest
of
that
this.
one, Lothar. Let's
call
go.
veto on this
I
one.
think
I call
I
veto.
think we need to free up some of these tournament officials to start looking at the game show as well. I'm starting to get concerned.
Listen, I'm gonna break this one.
Yeah.
Our server is live. We can do it.
All right, we'll give you this one.
Thank you very much. All right, great, good point. Awesome.
1 point for Zesh.
Good one is this one you definitely know. This one you definitely know. Everybody should know that. I definitely believe you do. Which agent is stealing equipment to make their own?
Yep.
Raise.
Perfect. Thank you very much. That is obviously Lothar for you with a 3rd point. From who is she stealing?
From Killjoy.
Exactly, because the little boombot is just nothing else than a little
Always
bit of
get
a
passionate.
Yeah. I mean, I knew that one, but Lothar's just faster. That's the issue there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah, man.
look
He's
at
a
this
fast
man.
guy,
He's fit.
you know?
Yeah,
He is.
absolutely.
Faster than you.
Yeah, dude.
No,
I don't know.
hairy guy.
Yeah. All right.
True.
Knocking Yaru again.
No, he's right.
Look, man.
He was-
He's a big Viper stan, right? Viper's all green and whatnot.
I should wear a green shirt.
You should. It would suit you. It would really
yeah,
bring
yeah,
out your
I'll
eyes.
buy one,
Lothar.
I'll buy
Sorry,
one.
Zesh, we're kind of sidelining this with like a dating show that we're working
we can
on.
definitely do a dating show.
this.
Yeah.
Oh
we
my,
could.
We
It
should
would
have
actually
made a
be
dating
sick.
game, man. Oh my god.
Sorry, Zesh, I don't want to ruin your game.
No, you're not ruining my entire evening. So the thing is, there is obviously a lot of great agents we have in Valorant, but we know there's evil in Valorant called the Spike. The Spike's making boom boom, we all know that. But who actually created the Spike? Who could that have been? Which agent might have created the Spike? What do you believe?
Omen.
No, it's Killjoy. Right, Killjoy, because the lockdown is also her creation, and it has the same premise as the Spike.
Right, you mean the putting it up and putting it down
has
thing?
the same range, the same
I see
kind
your
of
point.
like being put in the ground.
Yeah.
It's like kind of the same device, but with different purpose.
Oh,
What do you believe?
Oh, actually, now that I'm thinking about this more,
Yeah, it's your rule.
is it actually?
No.
Sweet,
Hell
thank
no.
God. I was gonna say, dude, if he was actually the guy masterminding all of this, like all along, I'm gonna go with Killjoy as well. I'm doubling down.
Absolutely right. I mean, it is Killjoy. I'm always surprised that you give the right answer, but the worst explanations. So
Yeah, well, it was logical, right? Kind of.
Yeah, I can see the point. you
So
made.
what's the?
Yeah, give me the real tie.
So, you know the voice line, "Oh no, you don't deserve my inventions." That goes for the Spike, actually. That means for the Spike, because there has been a mirror Killjoy. I have to read this out because I don't want to make this wrong. She has actually created the diffuser as well, if you remember. So it was from the other side a Killjoy who actually created the Spike. So this is why she's getting that.
I still think my explanation makes sense.
Yeah, no, I like
Absolutely.
the tie-in. and it just goes to show, by the way, credit to how well everything is designed that you were even able to kind of, pull that meaning from how she unpacks the lockdown.
And you know why she was able? Why she was able to create the Spike?
Why? Enlighten me. Or is this the question?
Was that another question? Or?
No. German engineering.
Oh,
all right, so
okay, here it is. Here it is. German efficiency.
Okay. That doesn't work for everything. Next up is actually a really funny question because there's one agent overall that has
Yes! Now Lothar gets it.
that has blown up an arts school.
An art school.
An art school. To say
Blown up.
Like
Blew up an art school. Well, blowing up, I think, Ray's right away, and her whole thing is kind of paint-looking. So is that maybe the tie-in?
I have to say, to be accurate, it's actually putting fire on the art school. Like putting it on fire.
Fire? Well, then that's so different.
I wonder who that is.
Yeah, would it be Phoenix? Is he the fire guy?
What do you say?
I'll say that it was Phoenix.
Absolutely is Phoenix. And the funny reason for that is he actually, to be accurate, destroyed a performing arts school in Peckham, London. He was later suspended from this school, which you can see on his little card, because in the background you see a burning building. So that's actually quite interesting. Finally, we're going to sum this up. We have one final question, which is so odd and at the same time awesome that you have to figure out which agent, right? Which of those lovely little agents is a big fan of 80s synth life.
Killjoy.
You don't go any explaining.
I'm not explaining. I can just tell by like the way she is. She just seems like she's big into synthwave, or maybe EDM. Maybe there's a difference between the two.
Okay.
I couldn't tell.
She's kind of like the lo-fi girl.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm starting to get a bit worried about now that I've said it.
Right. So I really like that you first speak and then think about the answer.
That's basically how I live my life. It's like a series of talk first, ask questions later.
At the same time, you're at still 2.5 points, so it's kind of working.
It's working. It's going all right.
Yeah, it's going all right. Lothar, not playing with the cam. Focus.
I'm not gonna say Killjoy because you said it. So I'm thinking, is there another agent that could be connected to 80s? You said 80s
synthwave.
So Jean-Claude Van Damme, I wanted to say, but no, that's not this one. Okay, so in this case, Jean-Michel Jarre, I would say it's gonna be an older agent, and I would say this might be Viper.
Might be Viper, he says, and obviously it's totally wrong.
That's right. So?
It's KO.
Oh,
KO.
KO. It has
He's
been
into 80s synthwave.
Listen to me. On the quiz on Instagram that has been done on the Valorant Instagram channel, we have actually seen nothing else that there was a little quiz, and the answer to favorites KO's music is 80s synthwave. And if you actually listen to the sound when you select him, it's kind of that music.
Well, it kind of makes sense now because he's so blue-purplish, and that's like the colors of 80s wave synth.
Right, absolutely. And to sum it up, Lothar, final question to you. Which agent overall has the lowest pick rate?
No.
In what?
In the world.
I already know what the answer is just because you've asked this question.
I mean, probably Viper.
It's Yoru, isn't it?
Why is he having
the big Yoru moment? I get Yoru's demise. There it is. Do I get a point for that? Can I get 5 points for
I think
that,
you should win for that.
Yeah,
actually, to be honest, that you finally admit that this is not a good choice. Thank you very much for that one.
Okay, now do this.
I heard
and disappear.
I heard there's one final question we have to go for, right? There's one final more. And one final more is that we once more go back to Killjoy. And there is actually an agent she has a super close bond with. A guardian angel, you could say, from Killjoy. Which one could that be? Who was the one who's taking care of Killjoy? Oh, hell no. What, does he know?
Brimstone.
What the hell? That's right. How do you know?
Well, he's acting like... So there's few theories around. I tend to gravitate towards that KO is actually the father of Killjoy, that was my own theory, and Brimstone was buddy with KO, and in the war or the battle that when he died, he promised KO that he will take care of the daughter of KO, and then, you know, then he was brought back by Killjoy, most likely with the memory chips and so on, and he's now like a guardian angel to Killjoy.
What the hell?
Absolutely right.
Dude.
Absolutely right. And that is Lothar for you. Obviously, the walking encyclopedia of Valorant. Shout out to you. Have a little bit of applause actually coming in because we have the entire crew of freaks coming in here and applauding. Thank you very much for that one, all, for great big congratulations. I'm very happy, though. Our real success is that finally Harry understood what Yoru is worth. At the end of the day, this has been our little quiz, and for now I've had the information that unfortunately there is no game going on for the moment, which is what it is, right? This is live. Sometimes it gives you lemons, sometimes it gives you a server that doesn't work.
I really like the game show, if I'm being honest. I'm down to just keep playing. I mean, I know we can't. You don't have any more questions. Yeah, I'm not going to throw you under the bus like that.
We need to ask Riot to just prepare like a document with questions about
Yeah. Oh, dude, you could get real nerdy with it as well, right? You know you could. And I know Zesht has already tried, but you know, you're just one guy trying to do this. Imagine if you had a whole team, Zesht.
Imagine.
You need to up the scale.
The scale.
Scalability.
Right, you've heard it. Well, nevertheless, you can have a closer look at those guys from G2 who might be playing very soon. So let's find out what they actually prefer with those agents.
Hello guys, we're here at the G2 bootcamp. It's me, Nuki, and Avoa here, and we're gonna be doing a game called One Must Stay. You ready?
Let's go.
Let's go. So the first question is, which ability would you like to have in real life?
In real life?
Yeah, wait. I'm gonna read the answers now. Tailwind, Spy Cam, Owl Drone. Wait, Tailwind is the jet dash, I probably assume.
Oh, the jet dash, yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely need that, bro.
Why not a Spy Cam?
Spy Cam? What do I need Spy Cam for?
I don't know.
Spy on people or what? I don't know, jet dash.
Okay.
When I went to school...
Dash to school.
I really wanted to dash into the bus, so I didn't miss it.
Telling your kids that I was dashing to school. Okay, where should be the next VCT major? North America, Asia, or Europe?
I want to go to Asia, actually. Korea, or some place like that. It would be sick.
Europe is boring, right?
Yeah.
And Asia.
And they can wait.
Yeah, and they can wait.
You can go to Asia.
Which agent would you delete from the game? Omen, Jet, or Killjoy?
Oh, Jet, bro.
Jet.
Jet is such a bullshit agent, man. So stupid. So stupid. I think my dad can play Jet.
Anybody can play Jet. What would you choose to eat if there would be only one? Pizza with pineapple, peanut butter jelly toast, fried chicken with waffles.
With waffles?
Yeah, with waffles.
Oh,
Actually, I've never tried that, so I don't know how waffles with chicken go.
I'll take the fried chicken with waffles. If I don't like the waffle, I just throw it out.
True.
I eat the chicken.
True. Who is the weirdest guy in our bootcamp? Mitchell, Coldamenta, or Kellogg's?
Kellogg's, bro.
It's even the
That guy's a little weirdo, bro.
It's a goofball.
Bro, this guy, he had his alarm at 5 a.m. so he can go to the airport. And he had the same alarm for 2 days in a row now. So he woke me up at 5 a.m. and I had to wait 20 minutes before he turned it off. And I was just dead tired, so I was about to bust in his room and turn it off. This guy doesn't wake up, man. He's like a rock when he sleeps.
He's just goofy in general. He's like funny, always doing like stupid things, so...
He's a really funny guy.
Yeah. Who would you rather like to face in a 1v1? Scream, CNED, or Yasin?
I'll take Yasin. Easy.
You sure?
Yeah.
Why not Scream? We played against Scream in
I'll
this
take
week.
Scream, I'll take CNED.
We already played against Scream, it's already like off the list. We played against CNED too.
1v1, I'm really confident.
Yeah, 1v1
I won a
is
lot of
easy.
1v1 tournaments.
Same. I actually won quite a few in CS. Which map would you rather play in the Grand Finals Decider? Bind, Split, or Icebox? Final map, Decider.
Bind, okay, Split, Icebox.
So all of them are bad, what are you trying to say? I would choose Bind, I think.
Yeah, I think I'll take Bind actually.
Split is random.
Split is random, Icebox can be random, but...
Depends on the team, right?
Bind, yeah, I think I'll pick Bind.
Thank you everybody for watching. This was me, Nuki, and Avova. And I hope you guys had fun watching this video.
Yeah, thanks so much for watching. Bye-bye.
Hey there, I'm back on my hosting seat. Zesht, Lothar still here with me. Zesht, I know you're upset that you've lost your spot at the head of this desk. Don't forget where you came from.
Jesus, all right. Wow. From rags to riches, man.
Yeah, right. From the 2.5 points to #1, baby. That's how we do it. So, we're still just waiting here, but we have had the news, actually, that from the tournament officials, they've been looking into this. Games are looking like they will not be played tonight, and they will be postponed, played tomorrow. That means we're going to start a little bit earlier. We'll have more information for you in that regard, I'm sure, coming through the pipeline. But that means that we can kind of start to look towards wrapping this up. It's going to feel a little bit weird because we do still have games to play. But starting with you, Lothar, can you try to kind of, give me your thoughts on today, set up tomorrow as well? Just, pretend we're closing the show, even though we don't have everything we need to close on.
Is it a trick question? This is still a quiz. No,
don't worry.
All right. So, today was actually quite interesting because we have seen so many new things happening in the game, right? We have seen, just to talk about the G2 here match with Oxygen or OXG. Mixwell on Sky on Breeze for the first time. It's an agent that he played on Haven, by the way, so we might actually see it tomorrow when the games resume, if G2 will not close it out. And if someone didn't pay attention closely to what was happening in the game on Breeze, it's 11-10 for G2, but they're on a thrifty round right now. So they're going to replay the game where most likely the outcome will be 11-11, so this can go anywhere, right?
Yeah, and I mean, if it ends up going all three, right, suddenly there's still a world where we start to look at, potentially Team Liquid facing one of these teams down in the lower bracket.
I just wanted to add one more thing. If we go to the third map between G2 and Oxygen on Haven, we're most likely going to see Unity on a Viper on that map. That's going to be spicy.
Yeah, I love that. So just to keep tying this together as well, I guess we should talk a tiny bit about what we saw earlier on in the day as well. We saw Ascend taking down Na'Vi 2-0, if you remember, Zesht. Do you want to give me your thoughts on that one there?
I think what I just loved about this game was Icebox. Right? Because when we're talking about this game again, we're getting into an absolute absurd realm of overtimes there, and what we have witnessed yesterday was a big slump from Na'Vi when attacking. And they have seemingly improved what they were doing, capitalizing a lot more on those mistakes. The CIS approach we know from them, SSK was absolute on fire there, and still, they have unfortunately not made it. But yet again, this is the progress I wanted to see, because we have talked about it. Their attacking side looked a little lackluster from time to time. Maybe Ascent was also a little weaker than usual. Nevertheless, this was a valiant effort for them, and Na'Vi might have a quite decent run in the lower bracket there.
Yeah, so as far as endings go for us today, we can start to bring up the bracket and kind of recap with where we're at. Obviously, Zesht has just done a good job here of kind of educating us as to that Ascent Na'Vi game that we had play out. You can see how this is all looking to take shape. So tomorrow, we don't have the times confirmed yet for the delayed games, but keep your eyes on social media. The losers here, they'll be going down into the lower bracket, right? So the loser of G2 versus Oxygen playing versus Team Liquid, the loser of SMB versus FPX will be facing off up against FAZE, and we'll be playing those out earlier in the day, just ahead of this normal scheduled game. So don't freak out, everything's under control. Just keep your eyes on social media. If you're still keen for Valorant, if you haven't had your fill of the VCT playoffs just yet, we've got the NA region coming up tonight, and it's a real treat there as well. That's over at twitch.tv/Valorant. And yeah, look, we got Sentinels taking on 100 Thieves. That's a hype matchup, right, boys?
I mean, there's a 6-letter word that fits to this banger. It's an absolute banger.
Yeah.
The game is an absolute
Never heard that before.
Yeah, no, I mean, you said banger was going to be our word of the day, and I think it's been applicable for more reasons than one. This has been an explosive ending to the day. Everything's on fire, and it's all under control. So that's all from me tonight. Zesht, Lothar as well. That's all from us. Have a great night. Join us tomorrow. Take care.
some fly shit. Hero in the nighttime, I just need my sidekick. Sexy in that leather with the tight fit. Try to get between us, I'ma start a riot. Look how she roll it up. There ain't no room in this two-seater, you can't roll with her. It's getting hot up in the city, but don't keep it tucked. I put that test on your neck and show you cold enough.